This is Ocean Robbins, and I am so excited that in 6 minutes we are going to begin the 2018 Food Revolution Summit. Right now, you are one of more than 300,000 people who are joining in this summit and who are taking a stand for healthy, ethical, sustainable food for everyone who eats. We're going to start in just a few minutes, but right now, thousands of people are already gathering, so I want to take this moment to welcome you and to let you know that if you care about food, if you care about health, if you want to prevent illness, and if you want to thrive, you are in the right place. If you want a healthy body and a healthy world, you're in the right place. If you're interested in better sleep, higher energy level, healthier skin, better digestion, a stronger immune system, or in fighting off or preventing Alzheimer's, cancer, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, or any of the other major health challenges of our times, you are in the right place. We're going to officially be starting the Food Revolution Summit in 5 minutes. And right now, I am Ocean Robbins, and I am welcoming you here. My dad and colleague, John Robbins, and I are often called the founders of the Food Revolution Network. But I think it would be more accurate to say that we are foundees. We were found and founded by this work. And in this summit, I hope that it finds you too. I hope that it finds you, inspires you, and galvanizes you. And I hope that it supports you in bringing your food choices into alignment with what it is that you most want for your life and for your world. If you just joined us, we're going to be starting the Food Revolution Summit in just about 4 minutes now. We'll lead off with my dad and colleague, John Robbins, interviewing Dr. Michael Greger. And I am Ocean Robbins, CEO of Food Revolution Network and co-host of the Food Revolution Summit. If you just joined us, I am right now sharing a few welcoming words before we start off in about 4 minutes. You know, in the face of the tens of billions of dollars that are being spent by the junk food industry, in the face of rampant spread of pesticides, herbicides, factory farms, and toxic food all over the world, in the face of the climate crisis that threatens to destabilize our ability to grow food in future generations, it can be easy to feel overwhelmed when we really look at what we're up against. Some of these problems can feel overwhelming, even unconfrontable to some people. Some people wonder if there's really hope. But I want to tell you right now, we say there is. We say there is immense hope. And we say that hope is not so much a noun as a verb. It's an action that we live from. And when it comes to food, you very literally carry the keys to shaping your destiny. We're going to begin the Food Revolution Summit in just about 3 minutes now with an incredible team of speakers. Today's topic is vitality and longevity, achieving the thriving life you deserve. In a few moments, you're going to hear us on the line with Dr. Michael Greger on simple foods to supercharge your health. At the top of the next hour, you're going to hear from Carr. An hour after that, you'll hear from Dr. Joel Fuhrman. Each of these food luminaries will be interviewed via teleconference by my dad and colleague, best-selling author John Robbins. And after each interview, I'll be on the line to bring you my top takeaways and reflections, to share in questions and answers, and to give some bonus resources until the next interview starts. Before we begin with Dr. Michael Greger in 2 minutes, I want to say that right here and right now, you are part of a powerful convergence of people who care, who are passionate about healthy food, and who are part of your food revolution. Let's make this a supportive, non-judgmental community and a safe space for every person to be exactly who they are and where they are, because every single one of us is learning and growing. And remember, we are all in this food revolution together. We'll be starting the Food Revolution Summit in just a couple minutes. I can hardly wait. Tens of thousands of people have gathered already, and I want to invite you to go ahead and post an introduction of yourself in the comments thread on our broadcast page. You can say hello, you can share something you're hoping to get out of this summit, you can share what inspires you or excites you, and throughout the day you can share highlights, things you're learning. Capture for everybody some of the top things you've heard that you want to share. Go ahead and press the button to refresh the comments in order to see the latest ones. We're going to be giving away a number of prizes today as we go along. And in the middle of the day, we're going to give away a free Vitamix blender valued at over $300 to one of the people who submits a comment. So be sure to post a comment and stay with us for your chance to win a free Vitamix blender. As each presentation unfolds, anytime you hear something you especially like, go ahead and capture it in the comments so others can see it too. We're going to be starting the Food Revolution Summit with Dr. Michael Greger in just a few moments here. Do you realize that only a third of the medical schools in the United States have a single required course in nutrition? The average physician in all their years of medical training receives 19 hours of nutritional education. What would happen if we treated food like the foundation of our health that it really is? Well, in this summit, you're going to hear from doctors who do, and their insights are profound. And now it looks like it's time for us to get started. So we're going to begin with Dr. Michael Greger in a moment. Welcome to the Food Revolution Summit, where we explore how you can heal your body and your world with food. This is Ocean Robbins, and I am joined by my dad and colleague, John Robbins, in welcoming our guest, Dr. Michael Greger. Dr. Greger is author of the New York Times bestseller, How Not to Die: Discover the Foods Scientifically Proven to Prevent and Reverse Disease. Dr. Greger is founder of the nonprofit nutritionfacts.org and a founding member and fellow of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. His research has been published in many peer-reviewed scientific journals, including the American Journal of Preventive Medicine and the International Journal of Food Safety, Nutrition, and Public Health. Dr. Greger is a graduate of the Cornell University School of Agriculture and the Tufts University School of Medicine. He produces daily video blogs and reports that reach millions of people with no-nonsense, cutting-edge nutritional insights. So now, Dr. Greger, my dad and I are so happy for this time with you. And now for the interview, I'm going to hand it over to my dad, John Robbins.
Well, thank you, Ocean, and thank you, Michael, for being with us again.
So excited to be here. I was just so tickled to hear about the success of the last summit, and so couldn't wait to be on the next one.
Well, thank you, and it was a success partially because of your wisdom within it. And, let's start with this. We are obviously paying a huge price for eating the standard American diet. The question I want to begin with is this: how much can we realistically expect to gain from a major upgrade to our nutritional intake?
What can we gain? We can gain the world. The good news is we have tremendous power over our health, destiny, and longevity. The vast majority of premature death and disability is preventable with a plant-based diet and other healthy lifestyle behaviors. So 70 to 80% of all major chronic disease or lifestyle disease, so the only way to treat them effectively, to reverse them, is to change the lifestyle that led to them in the first place, and primarily that's what we put in our mouth, according to the Global Burden of Disease Study, the largest study of disease risk factors in human history, funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The number one cause of death in these United States, the number one cause of disability in the United States is both our diet. Cigarettes now only kill about 500,000 Americans every year, whereas our diet kills hundreds of thousands more.
That's astounding. Our diet is worse for us, is killing more of us than smoking.
So what we put in our mouth, whether cigarettes or food, very important, but food, what we eat 3 times a day, killing more Americans now. And part of that is because of the public health victory. That was dropping cigarette smoking rates down to about 1 in 5 now, basically dropping every year since 1964. And you say, wait a second, what happened in 1964 when per capita cigarette consumption was 4,000 cigarettes a year, meaning the average person walking around smoked half pack a day on average? What happened in 1964? The science didn't change. It was the Surgeon General's report. The first Surgeon General's report against smoking came out saying, oh, by the way, there are 7,000 studies showing linking smoking with lung cancer, which we've known for decades. And so, wait a second, why didn't after the first 6,000 studies they give people a little heads up or something? Very powerful industry. And so it took that kind of body of evidence before the powers that be could officially come out and recognize. And we're in a very similar situation today. Back then, they had decades of science linking the smoking and lung cancer, but it was ignored because smoking was normal. Most doctors themselves smoked. Right? The American Medical Association was assuring everyone smoking in moderation, that's fine. Right? So there was a disconnect between what the science was clearly showing and public policy. It took more than 25 years, more than 7,000 studies before that first Surgeon General report came out. And so now we're in a very similar situation with diet. Until the system changes, we have to take personal responsibility for our own health, for our family's health. We can't wait until society catches up to the science again because it's a matter of life and death.
It is, and we are in a very similar situation. Most doctors today eat the standard American diet or slight variations thereon. And again, we have very powerful industries that are profiting from the status quo. The dietary guidelines exist, but they're a pretty low bar, and they are far from what would actually be scientifically proven to be an optimally healthy diet. And yet, even within the recommended levels, even when they're set so low, 96% of Americans today don't reach the minimum for greens, for eating greens. And this really matters. Of all the groups analyzed, all the food groups analyzed by a team of Harvard University researchers, greens turned out to provide the strongest protection of any food against major chronic diseases. Each additional daily serving of greens, they found, provides a 20% reduction in heart attack risk and a similar reduction in the risk for strokes. Michael, what makes greens so incredibly healthy?
Well, you're absolutely right that if there was one food that we wanted to add to our diet, then dark green leafy vegetables would be it. In fact, in Japan, a lot of these longevity studies, one of the criteria they have is greens consumption, and find that a risk factor for death is inadequate greens consumption, like a deficiency in greens consumption. It's interesting. It's kind of flipped the way we think of it here. It's probably the nitrates have a lot to do with it. So nitrate-containing vegetables. So we typically think of kind of beet juice, but actually the most concentrated forms of nitrates are actually dark green leafy vegetables. Arugula is probably one, but all the dark green leafies have these nitrates. And what they do is our body is able to convert them into something called nitric oxide, which is a signaling molecule that opens up our arteries, dilates our arteries, allowing blood to flow. And that's why greens consumption is associated with a lower risk of so many different diseases, because all of our organs depend on adequate blood flow for both bringing oxygen and nutrients and getting rid of waste products. So when we think of atherosclerosis, hardening of our arteries, blocking of blood flow, we think of typically, the heart attack and stroke. We realize, wait a second, you need adequate blood flow to your kidneys. You need adequate blood flow to your liver. You need adequate blood flow to your periphery. And so you can imagine how, having that adequate blood flow to your lungs and everywhere else in your body is so critically important for everything from cognition to detoxifying pollutants in our liver, to efficiently filtering our blood and our kidneys. And so that's how kind of one class of vegetables, one class of foods can have such potent effects throughout the body.
When you talk about nitric oxide and the potent effects, I'm thinking of erectile dysfunction, and the drugs that are used to treat it obviously don't do anything about the underlying cause, but they do provide symptomatic relief. I'm talking about drugs like Viagra, but they do that through affecting nitric oxide. How does that work?
That's indeed the case, and so you can have the same effect without the side effects by eating nitrate-rich vegetables, adding, therefore, not only years to your life, but life to your years, boosting athletic performance and blood flow for so-called veggie Viagra effect. And so basically, these phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitors, like Viagra-type drugs, They block an enzyme that allows for greater nitric oxide concentrations. But again, right, you're not treating the underlying cause of the disease, similar to cholesterol-lowering statin drugs. It's an enzyme-blocking drug that blocks this cholesterol enzyme. But again, doesn't treat the underlying cause. Some of these blood pressure medications, also, what we're trying to do is decrease end organ damage, but again, not treating the underlying cause of the disease. Anytime lifestyle is the cause, you always want to treat the cause not only because it's safer and cheaper, but because it works better. And of course, treating erectile dysfunction with diet will end up not only have beneficial effects to pelvic blood flow, but blood flow everywhere else. And so you can enjoy one's newfound blood flow for many more years.
Well, that's wonderful. And it's wonderful for people to know this so they don't have to depend so much on pharmaceutical drugs. I'm thinking about greens. I'm thinking about vegetables found in the cabbage family, many of which are greens, known as cruciferous veggies. And this family of veggies seems to have some remarkable properties. I'm thinking about broccoli and kale and collards and mustard greens and cabbage and arugula and also cauliflower and turnips and radishes, among others. Michael, what is it that's so special about veggies in this particular family, and how important is it that we include them in our diet?
You're making me hungry. Indeed, greens are the healthiest foods, and the healthiest types of greens are cruciferous vegetables. So it's kind of the healthiest of the healthiest. Broccoli family vegetables, such as the kale, collards. But, cabbage fits in the family, too, as you mentioned. And red or purple cabbage has the same kind of eyesight and brain-protecting antioxidants that berries do, but at a fraction of the cost. If you look in my fridge at any time, there's always a purple cabbage in the crisper, so I can slice off shreds to put into any meal for kind of a colorful, health-promoting garnish. The reason cruciferous vegetables are so important is because of a compound called sulforaphane, which is found primarily only found in the cabbage family, in these broccoli family vegetables. Basically, that's what makes broccoli taste like broccoli. It's a kind of a little chemical flare reaction where there's an enzyme and a substrate that combines when the cell is crushed. And so anytime a bug tries to bite a leaf of collard greens, it gets this sulforaphane production, and the bug says, "Ooh, this tastes like broccoli," and flies away. So the plant uses it to protect itself from pests. But when we then chew it or chop it up, so the same sulforaphane is released, and it has all sorts of remarkable benefits. In fact, if you type in sulforaphane into nutritionfacts.org, dozens of videos will come up, including one of the most recent surprising one is in treating autism. So the most concentrated source of sulforaphane is broccoli sprouts. Actually has more than mature broccoli. And so what they did is basically give these kids the equivalent of about a quarter to a half cup of broccoli sprouts a day, young autistic boys, and for the first time ever showed an improvement in core autistic symptoms. No drug has ever been shown to be able to do that. Drugs can kind of calm down or, put them to sleep or kind of act as a chemical constraint and have some of these kind of external symptoms controlled. But in terms of the core symptoms, in terms of social interactions and development and emotional connectedness, that's never been shown to be changed by any drug or treatment on the planet. But here we go. Broccoli did it. And this was in a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, one of our most prestigious journals. Why isn't it front page headline news everywhere? Because who's going to benefit? We're talking about broccoli here. There's just no money to be made. You can't patent it. It's sad that more people don't know about the power of particular foods for particular ailments, but that's why I do the work that I do.
And that's why we appreciate the work you do so much, Michael. It's hard to say too many good things about cruciferous veggies. They do so many wonderful things for our health. But sometimes people don't like the taste. They hear about things like sulforaphane and the tremendous value that it has. So they turn to something like broccoli supplements. Now, there's a supplement on the market, Brocomax, for example, that says that a single capsule is the equivalent of a half a pound of broccoli. What I want to ask you, Michael, is What does the science actually tell us about the comparative benefits of eating broccoli on the one hand versus taking these kind of broccoli supplements?
Well, they tested it. They put it to the test. And so they gave people 6 capsules a day of this Brocomax stuff, compared to a couple of broccoli sprouts. I have a video about it. You can see the spike in the bloodstream of those eating sprouts, which costs about 25 cents a day, compared to 6 capsules of the supplement, which costs about $2. There's effectively, the bioavailability of the broccoli phytonutrients dramatically lower in those eating supplements compared to the whole food. You can see it with your own eyes just looking at the graphs. And so it shows that, again, the real food, the whole food, is cheaper, safer, because you never know what kind of, contamination that the supplement manufacturers may be missing, and more effective, simply more effective. You just can't replicate. Unfortunately, Mother Nature cannot be stuffed in a pill that easily.
I'd like to talk with you a little bit about beans and other legumes, such as lentils. The most comprehensive analysis of diet and cancer that's ever been performed was published in 2007 by the American Institute for Cancer Research. They sifted through 500,000 studies, and then 9 independent research teams created a landmark scientific consensus report that was then reviewed by 21 of the top cancer research teams in the world. One of their summary cancer prevention recommendations is to eat legumes with every meal. Notice that's not every week or even every day, it's every meal. And yet, many people today are shunning beans, shunning legumes out of the fear of lectins. And there's even a best-selling book out now titled The Plant Paradox that tells us to do exactly that, to avoid beans and legumes. Michael, what does the science actually tell us about lectins and beans? And should we avoid beans and other legumes because of this concern?
The intake of legumes, right? So we're talking beans, split peas, chickpeas, and lentils, appears to be the most important dietary predictor of survival in older people around the globe. So basically an 8% reduced risk of premature death for every 1 ounce increase in daily intake. Yet, sadly, 96% of Americans don't even reach the recommended minimum intake, similar to the Greens data that you cited. And so that's one of the reasons the American Institute for Cancer Research recommends 3 servings a day, which is also what I put in my daily dozen. Daily dozen foods I encourage people to fit into the daily routine. I recommend 3 servings of beans. And this is for a number of reasons. If you look at the kind of federal, My Plate campaign, which was encouraging Americans to, how to build healthy meals, they're very explicit. Most of your plate should be covered with vegetables and whole grains, with the rest of the plate split between fruits and a protein group. Now, legumes were given special treatment, straddling both the protein and the vegetable groups, loaded with protein, iron, zinc, as you'd expect from other protein sources like meat. But legumes also contain nutrients that are concentrated in the vegetable kingdom, fiber, folate, potassium. So you get the best of both worlds with beans, all while enjoying foods that are naturally low in saturated fat and sodium and free of cholesterol. So all of a sudden, to have this book come out to suggest that beans, of all things, are one of the healthiest foods on the planet. Like if there are 3 healthiest foods, it would be greens, berries, and beans. And so the fact that they're suggesting that beans aren't good for you, I very rarely kind of get involved in kind of the lay nutrition debates on the internet or, whatever, new best-selling book telling people to eat, bacon and butter or whatever. It's just not worth kind of wading into the muck. I'd rather just stick to the peer-reviewed scientific literature and bring to light all the good science out there. But this was so potentially kind of dangerous, right, to tell people to stay away from the healthiest of foods that I decided to kind of do a deep dive in it. So I did a series of 3 videos talking about this book and addressing specifically in a broader case this lectin issue. And this is how so much of this starts, is with this kind of kernel of truth, right? So Atkins comes out, says carbs are evil. Well, the kernel of truth is that, eating donuts is not good for you. Eating soda pop isn't good for you. And that, yes, that's carbohydrates. But then use that as kind of a broad brush to suggest something like whole grains are bad for you, which is, of course, ridiculous. And so a very kind of similar thing here with lectins. So lectins are found in raw, dry beans. So if you take kidney beans and you don't adequately cook them, so cooking destroys the lectins. So like in canned beans, which are pre-cooked, even though they're raw out of a can, they're not actually raw, they're actually pre-cooked. The only way you can get raw beans is actually buy them dried, and of course they're too hard to eat. But if you soak them long enough, you could actually get this hard, rubbery texture, and you could actually eat a raw kidney bean, and you would get very sick because there's these lectins in raw kidney beans. But if you cook them until you can mash them with a fork, like you would normally just to make them palatable, then the lectins disappear, and you can enjoy all the nutrition without worrying about the lectins, which would make your stomach hurt, and you get really ill. And so, yes, so the kernel is that, you cannot eat raw beans, that lectins are bad for you, but we developed cooking. We have found a sneaky way to get around the plant's defenses and get at all the nutrition. You think what a bean is. What is a bean? Bean's the whole plant. Bean's the whole plant. It's like an acorn exploding into an oak tree. Well, you got a bean. You got all the nutrition. All you do is you put water and air, and all of a sudden that little bean turns into the whole plant. And so you can imagine all the concentrated nutrition. Of course, the plant knows this. Through evolution, it's very protective, and so created these lectins so everyone doesn't eat all the herbivores don't walk by and eat the very next generation of the very plant. And then our smart brains came along, found out, we can get rid of that by simple cooking. So we cook our beans. We buy canned beans, and we destroy the lectins, and then we can get all the benefits without worrying about our stomach cramping up. But indeed, don't eat raw beans.
I don't know too many people who would ever try. But any discussion of beans wouldn't be complete if we didn't discuss the soybean. Soy products are now widespread in the American diet. Soy oil, soy protein isolates, they're found in many, many processed foods. And health-minded people will often choose soy products over meat products for the protein content. But there's a lot of concern about soy today. Some of the components in soy are said to be harmful. These include phytoestrogens, which, according to these concerns, could contribute to cancer, to early puberty in girls, and to impotence in men, and phytic acid, which can reduce the absorption of vital minerals like zinc and calcium. So, Michael, do these concerns worry you at all? And what does the science actually tell us about the soy controversies?
Soy is misunderstood. So in terms of the phytoestrogens, people don't understand that there are two types of estrogen receptors in the body. There's alpha receptors and beta receptors. The phytoestrogens in soy bind to the beta receptors preferentially. And our own endogenous estrogen binds to alpha receptors. So the effect of soy on different tissues in the body depends on this ratio of alpha to beta. And so estrogen has positive effects on some tissues, but yet negative effects on others. So, for example, estrogen is good for the bones. That's why after menopause, osteoporosis is a risk because you no longer have that protective effect of estrogen on your bones. But estrogen is bad for breast tissue, increasing the risk of breast cancer and accelerating the progression of estrogen-responsive breast cancer. So ideally, what we'd like is some kind of selective estrogen receptor modulator to have estrogenic effects in some tissues, but anti-estrogenic effects in other tissues, and that's exactly what the soy phytoestrogens do. Soy appears to lower breast cancer risk, which is an anti-estrogenic effect, but at the same time reduces menopausal hot flash symptoms, and so that means it has a pro-estrogenic effect. So with the soy, you get the best of both worlds, and I encourage people to eat any kind of legume, soy or other beans, chickpeas, lentils, every single day. In terms of breast cancer survival, there's now been 5 studies so far, and all 5 show the same thing, that now we have thousands of breast cancer survivors. And who lives longer? The women with breast cancer eating soy or the women with breast cancer avoiding soy? Women with breast cancer eating soy live longer, significantly longer, have lower recurrence rates, lowering the rate at which the cancer comes back. So 5 out of 5, all 5 studies show that. And in addition, soy can decrease the risk of getting breast cancer in the first place, particularly during adolescence. Soy foods during adolescence reduces breast cancer risk later in life. by about 30%. We should encourage people to eat soy foods. Of course, there are more and less processed soy foods. So obviously something like soy oil or soy protein isolate has very little of the nutrition that the original soybean had.
Michael, this is such a complex topic, soy. And as you've said, soy is often misunderstood. So I want to kind of summarize what I'm hearing you say. I'm hearing that there are two types of estrogen receptors in the human body, alpha and beta receptors. And the reason that's important is that the estrogen that our bodies make naturally binds to the alpha receptors, and that has both positive and negative effects on our health. It has a protective effect on some tissues, such as our bone health, but a negative effect on others, such as increasing the risk for breast cancer. The phytoestrogens in soy, on the other hand, bind more to the beta receptors in our bodies and affect our bodies in many positive ways. They support bone health, and they also lower breast cancer risk. Women who have breast cancer and who eat soy, as you point out, live longer and have fewer recurrences of cancer than women with breast cancer who don't eat soy. And soy also decreases hot flashes and other symptoms of menopause. So soy actually has many of the beneficial effects of estrogen, but very few of the negative effects. And this is part of why I'm hearing you encouraging people to eat all kinds of legumes, including soy and other beans and lentils every day. And at the same time, I'm hearing that you aren't enamored, and neither am I, with processed soy foods like soybean oil and isolated soy protein, because so little of the nutrition that was in the original soybean is left when it's been processed that much. So what I want to ask you now, Michael, is what about tofu and tempeh?
Even tofu is a processed food. So it takes the whole soybean and removes about half the fiber, half the minerals, and you're left with tofu. But soybeans are so incredibly healthy, you can remove half the nutrition and still have a really healthy food. So yeah, tofu is healthy, but tempeh is even healthier. Tempeh is a whole soy food. You can actually see the individual little soybeans in there, something like, or edamame, miso. These are whole soy foods, and so that would be preferable than eating some of these kind of highly processed soy foods that often have added sodium and some other additives added, which we don't necessarily want.
Thank you for that answer. That's very clear. You mentioned a moment ago that greens and beans and berries are among the healthiest foods. Now, an American Cancer Society study that I saw recently of nearly 100,000 men and women found that those who ate the most berries were much less likely to die of cardiovascular disease. Michael, what is it about berries that makes them so powerfully health-promoting?
Yeah, and let's just take a step back for a second here. So this American Cancer Study said 100,000 men and women, those who ate the most berries, significantly less likely to die of cardiovascular disease, right? The leading cause of death. He said, wait a second. We're talking about berries. Taste great and they help you live longer. That's what plant-based eating is all about. Harvard researchers found that women who consume 3 servings of berries a week had slower rates of cognitive decline by as much as 2.5 years compared to those who didn't eat berries on a weekly basis. So this basically suggests simply eating a handful of berries every day, one easy, delicious dietary tweak, may slow your brain's aging by more than 2 years. Also has important eyesight protective nutrients. We think it's these anthocyanins, these bright pigments, these deep pigments. So we're talking like purple, black pigments in blackberries, blueberries, have particular benefits within the body for eyesight protection, for cognitive protection, because they actually cross the blood-brain barrier, can get from our bloodstream into our brain, and can have all sorts of beneficial effects. If there was one type of fruit I'd add to your diet, it would be berries. One type of vegetable to add to one's diet would be greens. And of course, we got to get the beans in there.
Michael, I'm hearing you talk eloquently about the health power of berries. And you're adding that if there were 3 foods that most of us should be eating more of, they would be berries and greens and beans. So, Michael, what would be the 3 things that are part of the standard American diet that most people are eating on an everyday basis that we should be eating much, much less of, or even better yet, eliminating entirely?
Number 1, you'd want to get rid of trans fats, anything with partially hydrogenated oils. 2, I'd get rid of processed meat, bacon, ham, hot dogs, lunch meat, that kind of thing, which was declared now 2 years ago in 2015 to be a Category 1 carcinogen by the IARC, the World Health Organization body that determines what is and is not cancer-causing. So basically putting, processed meat up there with plutonium and asbestos and cigarette smoke, things we know to cause cancer in human beings, yet people continue to give it to their kids to go to school. I mean, it's like, putting a carton of milk and a carton of cigarettes right on everyone's little lunch tray there. Absolutely outrageous. And number 3, probably soda, liquid candy I'd remove from people's diets first. And so just those kind of tweaks, adding the healthiest of foods, getting rid of the least healthy foods, would go a long way towards improving the health of our listeners here.
Thank you for that. When you mentioned soda, I thought of the tremendous amount of added sugars that are in the American diet now. And there are voices in the food world today who are urging people to stop eating fruit because of the natural fructose, the natural sugars that are found in fruit, including berries. And there's concern that this fructose could contribute to weight gain, to declining liver function, to metabolic syndrome, to high blood pressure and diabetes. And the list is long of those concerns that worried people have about this. Michael, how valid are these concerns?
The concerns for industrial sugar, so we're talking high fructose corn syrup, table sugar in excess quantities, do indeed contribute to obesity, to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, to hypertension, high blood pressure. And so we should indeed be concerned. So there are those who, for example, concern about the environment, concern about animal welfare, who make the jump to declare themselves vegans, refusing to eat animal products, but continuing to eat unhealthy food. So, for example, like Twizzlers are vegan. Soda pops, Coca-Cola, vegan. But they have this sense, well, I'm so healthy because I cut out, meat, dairy, and eggs that I kind of don't have to worry about these other things like sodium content, potato chips, or the sugar content in soda. I'm kind of protected. And the answer is, unfortunately, no. You're doing better, certainly, but we really need to move towards whole plant foods, not just plant foods, because the food industry has found a way to take plants, take something like a beet, and turn it into sugar. Sugar beets are the primary source of sugar these days, not cane. And so found a way to remove all that nutrition and just use the sugar. And, of course, thanks to taxpayer subsidies, it's our money that goes to make sugar cheap and plentiful everywhere. But you say, wait a second. If this fructose is so bad, the sugar is so bad for us, well, what about all the sugar found in fruit? I mean, if you ate enough fruit, you could get the same kind of sugar intake that you would drinking a bottle of soda. And so should we be worried about that? Well, researchers decided to look into it. So if you do something called the glucose tolerance test, where you have people drink a glass of water with 3 tablespoons of table sugar in it, this is basically like a can of soda. And what you get is a big spike in blood sugar within 1 hour. I mean, your body freaks out, releases so much insulin because of all the sugar in our blood. We're so unphysiologic. I mean, there's no such thing as soda out on the African savannah. And so all of a sudden, blood sugar is just through the roof. Our body freaks out, releases so much insulin to tamp down that blood sugar. We actually overshoot, and by the second hour, we're relatively hypoglycemic, meaning dropping our blood sugars below that when we started out fasting, so before we drank the sugar. And so in our response, our body thinks, oh my God, blood sugars are abnormally low. We're in like some famine situation. Start dumping fat into our bloodstream as if we're starving. That's the triglyceride spike you get because all of a sudden our blood sugar started dropping so suddenly. And so it has all this bad metabolic consequences. Okay, but then let's do the following experiment. What if you added some berries, blended berries, in addition to the sugar? Now, of course, berries have sugars of their own, right? And in fact, they added an additional tablespoon of sugar's worth of berries. So they added so many berries that actually added an additional tablespoon worth of sugar in whole fruit form, right? And so instead of eating 3 tablespoons of sugar, chugging down they were chugging down 4 tablespoons of sugar in this berry sugar water mixture, right? Same amount of sugar plus added sugars in the form of berries. And so you say, oh, there's got to be even a bigger sugar spike, right? No. There was no additional blood sugar spike, and here's the critical part. There was no hypoglycemic dip. Afterwards, blood sugar just went up and down, no overshoot without that surge of fat in the blood. And originally, it was all thinking, well, it's got to be the fiber. Like the fibers, the berries are gelling in the stomach and slowing the rate at which the stomach is emptying, and so that's why you don't get that huge spike in blood sugars. But then they found out that even using, like giving people like purple grape juice or something that has no fiber at all, can have similar effects. So you basically added more sugar in the form of fruit juice, but you still didn't get that exaggerated spike. Why? Because of these polyphenol phytonutrients.
I find it fascinating that the fructose in berries, and even to an extent in purple grape juice, may actually have a positive effect in regulating our blood sugar. Michael, you mentioned this beneficial effect may be due to the polyphenol phytonutrients in these fruits. What role, then, do the pigments that give berries their rich colors play?
These pigments within plant foods that actually block the absorption of sugars at the small intestinal barrier. So within the small intestine, there are sugar receptors that pass sugar into the bloodstream. They're actually blocked by these nutrients naturally found in fruit. So fruit comes prepackaged with all the healthy tools your body needs to process what's in it, to process the nutrients, to process the sugar. That's the way our body, through millions of years of evolution, has evolved. I mean, plants want to make fruits healthy because it wants everyone to eat it and distribute the seeds. And so, through this millions of years of coevolution, we have this perfect scenario where we get all the nutrition in just the way we need it, so it doesn't contribute to disease. And in fact, this is at Dr. Jenkins' lab at University of Toronto, the guy who invented the glycemic index. They said, well, let's see. I mean, is there a level of fruit intake that would kind of be too, how much fruit is kind of too much fruit? I mean, there has to be some kind of level, right? So what they did is they had people eat 20 servings of fruit a day, right? And so that's an extraordinarily high fructose intake, basically giving people 8 cans of soda worth of sugar, but all in whole fruit form. All right? What happened? Did all of a sudden they start gaining weight and their liver get fatty, their blood sugar shoot up? If you had 8 cans of soda worth of sugar a day, that's what would happen. And found no adverse effects at all, 20 servings of fruit a day, and actually benefit in terms of body weight, blood pressure, insulin, and fats in the blood after 3 to 6 months. So actually beneficial. So basically stuff your face with as many fruits as possible. In that global burden of disease study I talked about at the beginning, the actual number one dietary risk factor for death worldwide, the one thing that's killing more people about the human diet than anything else, what is it? Is it soda? Is it processed meat? No, inadequate fruit consumption kills more people than any other dietary risk factor. And so it's important to eat fruit.
Yes, it is important to eat fruit. And you mentioned the work of Dr. David Jenkins, who introduced the glycemic index to the world. He's now at the University of Toronto, and his research team there is conducting many interesting studies, including the one you mentioned. And as you said, in the study, people ate 20 servings a day of fruit, 20 servings a day, and they saw benefits in terms of body weight, blood pressure, insulin, and triglycerides. And another thing I found to be revealing about that experiment is that the people eating all that fruit also lowered their LDL cholesterol, their bad cholesterol, by an astounding 38 points. And they also had, according to the researchers, the largest bowel movements ever documented in a dietary intervention. So I think we can safely conclude from all of this that most of us can safely eat whole fruit as much as we want without worrying too much about the impact of the fructose. Of course, each of us has our own unique biochemical and metabolic individuality. So as always, we need to learn from the research and also learn from what our own bodies are telling us. Now, Michael, I want to switch gears for a minute. And I want to talk with you about another food that I think is fabulous, really a superfood. And it's also a very inexpensive food. But it's a food that a lot of people aren't very familiar with. I am talking about flax seeds.
Ah.
Yeah, they're almost miraculous in their effects on high blood pressure. And I've seen studies showing that they reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, of osteoporosis, rheumatoid arthritis, constipation, many forms of cancer, including breast cancer, colon cancer, and prostate cancer. And one of the reasons that flax seeds are so strongly anti-cancer in their effect in our bodies is that these seeds are very high in cancer-fighting lignans. So, Michael, what are lignans? And why are they important? And speak to us of flax seeds.
Absolutely. In fact, flax seeds get one of those highly vaulted positions on my daily dozen. If the dozen things I encourage people to get into their day, so one of them is exercise, one is, of course, a teaspoon of turmeric, one is beans every day, berries every day, greens every day. But flax seeds, a tablespoon of ground flax seeds, makes it onto the list, and that's because we have randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trials showing that the consumption of just a few spoonfuls of ground flax seeds a day can bring down blood pressure 2 to 3 times better than our leading blood pressure medication, and only have good side effects, reducing the risk of breast and prostate cancer, controlling cholesterol, controlling triglycerides, controlling blood sugars, reducing inflammation, curing constipation. These things are magical, and not only one of the most concentrated sources of soluble fiber, most concentrated sources of alpha-linolenic acid, which is omega-3 fatty acids, but the number one source, dietary source, of lignans, these anti-cancer compounds, important not only for cancer prevention, but also cancer survival. For women with breast cancer, for example, with higher lignan intake, has significantly prolonged survival. Really remarkable. In fact, and you can do these, again, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trials. You say, how do you do that? I mean, you can do that with drugs. Sugar pill versus the real thing. You don't know which is which. How do you do that with food? I mean, people tend to notice what they're eating. What they do, these really elegant studies, they make muffins. They make these like flaxseed muffins versus like wheat bran muffins. And so basically the muffins look the same, they taste the same, they smell the same, but half the group is randomized to the secret flaxseed muffin. And the other one is randomized to the wheat bran muffin. You don't know to the end. No one knows who is which until you break the code at the end of the study, and you realize, oh my God, had these remarkable effects. And so you can do this with breast cancer biopsies, following biopsy, or prostate cancer biopsies. You can randomize people to flax seeds. No one knows what is what, so there's no placebo effect, and you see these kind of remarkable changes. And so lignans are phytoestrogens. Like there's 2 major classes of phytoestrogens in the American diet. One is the soy phytoestrogens, beneficial in terms of prolonged survival in breast cancer, and the other class is lignans. But unfortunately, they're like the soy phytoestrogens, they are relatively constrained to one food group. Flax seeds have about 100 times more than everything else, with the exception of sesame seeds. Sesame seeds comes in not a close second, but definitely has some significant amounts, although there's little bits of lignans found throughout whole grains and stuff. But that's why flax seeds, a tablespoon, ground flax seeds a day. Unfortunately, you have to grind them up because the natural whole is so fantastic that it can sit on your kitchen counter, room temperature, in an airtight container for a year, do just fine, because it's such so protective. But unfortunately, a little too protective. So the whole flaxseed just comes right through and comes out the other end, and you flush it away. So you do really have to grind it up or chew really well just to get at all those wonderful nutrients inside.
In our kitchen, we have a dedicated coffee grinder. We don't use it to grind coffee. That's a different one. But we use it to grind flax seeds and chia seeds.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned the chia seeds. We should grind chia seeds up too, which is crazy because it doesn't really look like much of a whole. You'd think you'd just be able to absorb all the nutrients. But when you give people chia seeds whole, you don't actually see a bump in their omega-3 fatty acid levels, which is so surprising because they're packed with omega-3s, whereas if you give them the exact same amount of chia seeds in ground form, milled form, powdered form, blended form, you get a big spike in omega-3s, both short chain and long chain. And so that's why it's important, to actually grind our chia. Who does that? Look, you're grinding your flax anyway, throw in some chia.
Exactly.
We eat so much flaxseed in our house, we do it in the blender. I don't know, you have a big coffee grinder, but we take the blender, add lots of flax seeds, lots of chia seeds, blend it all up together, and we just have this nice kind of light, nutty, mix that we can sprinkle on anything and add tons of nutrition.
Michael, you are stellar at bringing us the groundbreaking scientific evidence behind the diet that can prevent and reverse most of the causes of disease-related death in our country and in our world today. Your wisdom has helped millions of people to live vastly healthier lives. Thanks to your work, there's a lot more joy and there's a lot more healing and a lot more love in the world. It's been, as always, a pleasure to talk with you today and to bring your message to our listening audience. And on behalf of Ocean and myself, and really of everyone involved in the food revolution, and frankly, of everyone who eats, I thank you, Michael, for your outstanding work and, of course, for being with us today.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Keep up the great work.
We've been talking with Dr. Michael Greger, author of How Not to Die and founder of the nonprofit nutritionfacts.org. Dr. Greger, you have a tremendous knack for compiling the results stemming from countless hours of the leading edge in scientific research and then making it accessible and empowering for the masses. We want to thank you so much for your thoughtful research, for your passion to help people thrive, and of course, for your partnership in the food revolution. Thank you so much to Dr. Michael Greger and to my dad and colleague, John Robbins, for that inspiring, profound conversation. To express your opinions on what you've been hearing and to find out what other people are saying, post and engage in the comments section on our broadcast page. Make sure to refresh the comments using the Get the Latest Comments button so you can see the most recent comments. The button on the right side of the page is working. The one on the bottom will be working by tomorrow, so make sure you press the one on the right side to see the latest comments. Our next presentation will be an interview with New York Times bestselling author Kris Carr on learning to love your precious life. It'll start at the top of the hour, followed an hour after that by wildly popular PBS host and bestselling author Dr. Joel Fuhrman at the top of the next hour. We've received so many wonderful comments from people responding to Dr. Greger's extraordinary presentation. We heard from Pinar Phillips, who said, "Greetings from Baltimore. I'm a psychiatrist who's been living the whole foods, plant-based life the past couple years and spreading the good word as best I can. I personally feel alive for the first time in my life, thanks to this powerful knowledge. Thank you to all the luminaries in this field. We are the viable future of medicine. Also, thank you to the Robbins family for generously setting up this conference. You are doing humanity a world of good." Well, Pinar, thank you so much. Yes, we together, all of us, are the viable future of medicine. As you well know, most doctors are not learning about nutrition in medical school, but I am so grateful for every doctor who is getting this information. And for everybody listening right now, you can also share what you're learning with your doctors. If you have healthcare providers in your life that you want to share this with, tell them about the summit. Invite them to tune in. It's never too late to get informed, to get empowered, and to help more people with this critical knowledge. We heard from Michelle Lynn, who said, "Anyone listening and thinking of giving this a try, it's life-changing. Not hard at all, in fact, and very tasty. Most of my pain is gone. I'm losing weight. Diabetic numbers are now normal. My neuropathy is much less painful, so I can walk for hours now. No drugs, just whole food." Well, thank you for sharing, Michelle, and thank you for living this. You know, we hear these kinds of stories every day, and it never ceases to inspire me, to hearten me, and to galvanize me to want to keep spreading the word so we can engage more people in this critical message. We heard from Lorraine Diaversa, who said, "I met John Robbins years ago when he presented at my son's school in South Jersey. My life and the lives of my children took a massive jump forward. The steps we took based on what we learned and our desire to be our best led Brandon to become a 5-time All-Star, All-American at Ohio State, 12 international medals, 4 USA titles, and a physique that was featured on the cover of Muscle and Fitness. This is my 7th anniversary of joining the food revolution. I am taking the leap and have changed my career to focusing on assisting seasoned professionals, entrepreneurs, and creative retirees utilizing lifestyle strategies based on the foods we are eating, how we move, and how we think. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for the work you are doing with the Food Revolution Summit." Thank you so much, Lorraine. We're so grateful to have you with us in this journey. We heard from Betsy Sims, who said, is there a lot of research and results around increasing leafy green intake and avoiding cholesterol meds? Well, yes, Betsy, there is actually a lot of research on this. Dark leafy greens, like kale and spinach and all the rest, contain lutein and other carotenoids, which are linked to lower risk of heart disease. Dark leafy greens can also help lower cholesterol levels by binding to bile acids and making the body excrete more cholesterol. Functionally speaking, we see many studies showing us that leafy green intake is associated with better heart health, according to pretty much every measure available to us. We heard from Cindy Trivolino, who said, did not know how much berries affect our cognitive system. We'll begin adding them on a daily basis. When they are not in season, can frozen substitute? Yes, Cindy, fresh has certain extra special benefits, but frozen berries are fabulous. And for most people, they're a lot more affordable and easier to manage year-round. I love the freezer. We heard from Jean DeGara, who said, I understand that berries are so good for us. Does blending them in a high-powered blender kill any of the nutritional value? Well, Jean, chewing is wonderful for your digestion because saliva helps you get the most out of the process. But you can get wonderful value from blended berries, too. It's all good for you. We heard from Heather Drew, who said, when is the best time of day to eat greens? Well, Heather, the best time, actually, is when you eat them. They are wonderful any time of the day. Of course, listen to your body and see what works best for you. But in general, greens are good. We heard from D. Randall Odd, who said, I'm having difficulty eating or swallowing green leafy vegetables. How do you recommend I get enough? Well, D, you could try steaming them, you could try sauteing them, you could puree them. Some people even puree them into a pasta sauce. Mix them in with pasta sauce or as a topping on top of all sorts of other foods. There are many different ways to prepare them. Try to find one that works for you and then go from there. We heard from Cherie Baldwin, who said, worked as a cardiac rehab nurse and now a heart failure educator for over 30 years in the healthcare industry. I taught my patients back then to incorporate a low-fat and low-cholesterol foods into their diet. I was very curious how and why people are getting sick, so I pursued my master's in public health. I knew that the environment was a culprit. I had no idea the extent of corruption in the food and pharmaceutical industry and our health. I am so excited to gain more knowledge in this very important area of personal health and nutrition. Well, Sherry, we are so glad you're here with us to gain this insight. Thank you so much for participating in this summit and learning. And you sound like somebody who is also sharing what you're learning with other people. It sounds like this is your life work. So we honor you and we thank you for your decades of service. And we really follow in your footsteps as we carry this work forward to learn and to share with more and more people. On each day of this summit, we're going to share a pre-recorded message from one of the people whose lives has been touched by the food revolution. One of the 800,000 participants in our past Food Revolution summits was Gina Bonanno Lemos, age 45, from Yorba Linda, California. This now is Gina's story in her own words.
My name is Gina Bonanno Lemos, and this is my Food Revolution story. I'm a 43-year-old mother of two, and I have never been in better health or had more energy in my entire life. I'll admit this wasn't always the case. Since childhood, I've struggled with colds and flus, debilitating allergies, asthma, strep throat, you name it. I mean, it kept me from going to school and from being with my friends. And my health issues continued and then worsened in my 20s after I had my first child. And I began having sinus infections anywhere from 4 to 6 times a year. And they would last for weeks and weeks before I'd give in and I'd get antibiotics and steroids. Then I started suffering with dangerously low blood pressure, and I developed adult onset cystic acne, which is so gross. And so finally, in my mid to late 20s, I decided I'd had enough. I just was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I went on this mission to change my health. And I began studying everything I could get my hands on regarding nutrition and fitness. And although I was very physically fit, I would lift weights 5 to 6 days a week. And I ate what most Americans consider to be extremely healthy, all low fat foods, lots of chicken and turkey and fish. But my health problems just persisted on into my 30s. And then finally, after more than 40 years of suffering, something incredible happened. I went to have coffee with a friend, and she introduced me to the idea of a plant based diet. And I'll admit, although it made perfect sense, the science was there, and I made some small changes, it wasn't until I listened to the Food Revolution Summit in 2013 that it just clicked for me. And I made the full changes, and my health changed dramatically and within a very short period of time. So everyone asked me what it was that had the biggest impact. And I have to say, it was the phenomenal knowledge that I gathered from the Food Revolution Summit speakers. It just really was the impetus for such a major change in my life and diet. They opened my eyes to so many things that I was completely unaware of. I couldn't believe I hadn't heard this stuff before. And in particular, the fact that I was eating what mainstream media had brainwashed me into thinking was quote unquote healthy. And this was based on a very corrupt industry and healthcare system. So now I am ecstatic to report that not only have all of my health issues all but vanished, but I haven't even had so much as the sniffles in more than 15 months. And this is while everyone around me is dropping like flies from the recent flu outbreak. I also no longer need coffee in the afternoon to get me past that, 2 to 3 p.m. fatigue. And I have more energy than I need. And in July of last year, just a few months after making these changes, I had a follow-up visit with a hormone specialist that I started seeing at the beginning of the year. And without any medications, any hormones, she informed me that based on my blood results, that my health markers had all improved. And she said, and I quote, that I had reversed the aging process by changing my diet, and I was no longer perimenopausal. So how cool is that? I have to tell you, this experience had such a profound impact on me, so much in fact that I actually made the decision that after 20 years in my career, I decided to change careers, and I'm now studying to be a health coach so I can help others enjoy long, healthy lives, free of disease, illness, drugs, all that yuck. So I am so incredibly grateful for the Food Revolution Summit and for the empowerment package I got last year, which is awesome. This message is life changing. I'm absolute proof of that. And for anyone who's listening right now, I just want to tell you, you can change your life. You can change your world. This stuff is real. It absolutely works. And I will be forever grateful and inspired to help spread this message of hope and healing to anyone who's willing to listen. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, thank you so much to Gina for those inspiring words. And thank you to everybody participating right now. Because, food is something that's very personal. It affects us intimately. What you eat literally becomes you. But it's also political and it's also social. It affects the world around you. It affects your web of relationships. It affects everybody in your life. So when we make changes, when we participate in the food revolution, we do so not just for ourselves, but also for everybody we love, because we send out so many ripples, and so do our stories. We heard from Cheryl Beresh Mueli, who said, I want to say a huge thank you to Dr. Greger. I switched my family to a whole food plant-based diet after seeing his How Not to Die lecture on YouTube last summer. My migraines disappeared. My daughter lost 20 pounds. My son tells me he wakes up with energy and a rediscovered ability to focus on his studies. I gave copies of Dr. Greger's cookbook to everyone in my family for Christmas, and I'm trying to spread the word about health through diet whenever the opportunity presents itself. Thanks again for offering us a healthy future. Well, thank you, Cheryl, so much for sharing this. Yes, Dr. Greger's work has touched so many people, and hopefully a lot more people today, right here and now in this summit. We heard from Tracy Roquillo, who said, thank you for your Food Revolution Summit and in helping to educate my husband, myself, and the whole world. We are showing by our examples toward our adult children and our 2 teenagers by not eating any more meat products, period. Only our 15-year-old son does not eat meat products, but he still is eating cheese and eggs. and he has a hard time giving them up, especially cheese products. Any suggestions, please let me know. Thank you again for all you do. Well, Tracy, stay tuned because I know you're going to learn a lot throughout this summit. And since you asked about cheese, make sure you tune in for Dr. Neil Barnard's presentation in a few days because you're going to learn a lot more. And now it's going to be easier for you and your husband to participate in this mission because you have just won a totally complimentary empowerment package. Between every interview or after every interview in this entire summit, we're going to be giving away empowerment packages to people who post in the comment section, and you are this segment's winner. Our team will follow up with you about this. So now you can listen to and share the recordings of this summit anytime you like, and you'll have the MP3s and the transcripts and more than $2,800 worth of bonuses. Congratulations! And congratulations also to our most recent new empowerment package owners, including Carol from Calgary, Alberta, Chuck from Baltimore, Maryland, Dr. Miriam Wolf from Chester, Vermont, Tara Dernoot from Avon, Colorado, Stephen Feinberg from Virginia, Marco Peterson from New York, Ulla Agasson from Denmark, Elise from Quebec, Canada, Belinda from Austin, Texas. And everybody else listening, if you want to own the empowerment package for life as well, just click on the link for the empowerment package and you can get it all. We heard from Nancy Ansley, who said, I believe events like this will change the public perception of how to eat better for our health. Kudos to the leadership for the courage to produce a life-changing event. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for listening, and thank you for participating with your attention and your life. And in a moment now, it's time for us to join with Kris Carr for her interview on learning to love your precious life. Welcome to the Food Revolution Summit, where we explore how you can heal your body and your world with food. This is Ocean Robbins, and I am joined by my dad and colleague, John Robbins, in welcoming our guest, Kris Carr. Kris Carr is a multiple New York Times best-selling author, speaker, and wellness advocate. She's the subject and director of the documentary Crazy Sexy Cancer, which aired on TLC, the Discovery Channel, and Oprah Winfrey Network. Her latest books are Crazy Sexy Juice and Crazy Sexy Kitchen, and her live wellness program, Crazy Sexy You, has helped thousands of people reinvigorate and transform their health. Kris has been featured in Vanity Fair and Scientific American, on Good Morning America, The Today Show, The Doctors. She's on a mission to help as many people as possible to claim their health, to live with gusto, and to make every day count. So now, Kris, we love your work. And now for the interview, I'm going to hand it over to my dad, John Robbins.
Well, thank you, Ocean, for that introduction of Kris. And thank you, Kris, for being with us today.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Ocean. It's good to be back.
It is. And you've made an extraordinary journey. And I want our listeners to know that, in a way, it began on Valentine's Day 15 years ago when you were told that you had a stage 4 cancer in your liver and lungs that was inoperable and incurable. But amazingly, your journey since then has not only led you to vibrant health, which would be astonishing enough, but also to becoming one of the country's most prominent and I would say most beloved wellness activists. What I want to ask you, Kris, to start our conversation is, what has enabled you to experience cancer not as a stereotypical death sentence, but as a chance to truly live your life?
That's a great question. You know, I might not have thought that was possible 15 years ago because, like many cancer patients, I was terrified, especially by the news that it was incurable and untreatable. But I live with a slow-growing cancer, and it's been stable for the last 15 years. So it's given me this incredible opportunity to go inside, to get to know myself, to learn to live like I mean it, as I like to say, to understand what makes us healthy, what makes us happy, what makes us feel vital, and to start living my life like it really matters. And so often I think we wait. We either wait till something happens, or we wait till we have all of our ducks in a row, so to speak, or perhaps when we retire or when we're older, when we have it all figured out. We wait to take care of ourselves. We wait to do the things that we love. And this very strange, rare, slow-growing disease has told me, don't wait. Don't wait another day. Get busy living, learn to take care of yourself, and teach people what you know. And so in many ways, it's my teacher. It's truly inspired me to take charge of my life and to take back my health. And like many of our listeners, before this happened, I didn't feel great. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was a fast food, junkie. I didn't understand that what I put in, including the thoughts, created my reality, created my life, created my health and my well-being. And so in some ways, I'm just grateful for the wake-up call. I don't like to call it a gift because it's not something I would give to you, but I do think that there are blessings along the way. And here's the other thing. Cancer has changed so much. Now it's, for many people are living with it like I am. It's becoming more of a chronic illness for lots of patients. So more people, as I said, are living with it, which is incredible. And even people going through difficult treatments can still improve their lifestyle choices and really stack the odds in their favor for survival, And so that's really exciting. And also, there are a lot of new treatments happening, targeted therapies, therapies, and so many integrative therapies as well. So patients have many more choices now than they did, certainly, when I was diagnosed. But I want to share one more thing with you, John, which is, for so long I was so hung up on the idea of curing my disease and making it go away. And sometimes I get really frustrated with all of my effort that it wasn't. And I would even get frustrated when I started to write my books and became a New York Times bestseller, and thousands of people were practicing what I was saying, and they were reversing their illnesses, and here I was still living with cancer. So I felt like a failure and in some ways like a fraud. And I share this now because I think it's so important, because so many people can relate to this, even if they can't relate to my exact experience. But then I realized that curing, it's not possible for everybody, right? But healing is. And healing takes place at the emotional level, at the spiritual level, and we can all experience it no matter what happens in our lives. And I like to encourage people to think about the type of life that they want to live, not waiting for that day when it's all figured out. And there's an exercise that I like to do. It's a journaling exercise. And what I say, it's kind of like what happened to me, but you get to have the knowledge without the price, is like, if you only had a few years to live, how would you spend that time? What would you do more of? What would you do less of? Who would you spend that time with? Who wouldn't you spend that time with? Would you travel? Who would you share your heart with? What friends would you want to spend the time with? Well, when you look at those answers, I want to encourage our listeners to start doing those things now. Do this exercise and then come back to it. And you may want to do it once a year. Maybe you want to do it in January, and check in along the way to see your answers and to see if you're actually doing it.
That's a wonderful invitation. I actually have myself done something like that over the years. Every so often I have asked myself, if I had only 6 months to live, if I knew that that was the case, what would I do? What wouldn't I do in the next 6 months, in the last 6 months of my life? And then I have tried to employ that within the next 2 years in actuality. And it focuses the mind on what my real priorities are. It helps me understand what I really value and who I really value and what I want to value in myself, what I want to do and not do, what I want to. And one of the things you mentioned was, who do I want to share my heart with? I think that's really important because we avoid intimacy sometimes. We postpone it. We have other things on our to-do list. We have ways of not honoring our hearts that sell ourselves short. And whether it be a cancer diagnosis or just a practice like you mentioned, whatever enables us, whatever evokes us to live authentically and transparently with the people we love, I think, not only makes us more capable of intimacy and love, but also can help us align with our true purpose in life. And that's what I hear you talking about.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you shared that, especially, your exercise and that you anchor it in a timeline, because it's so motivating when we do, right? We kind of have to stay on top of our dreams. And, as you were talking, I was thinking about some of the research that I've been doing recently. And I consider myself a little bit more of a lone wolf, or that's how I refer to myself. I love spending time alone. I love, doing this work and diving deep inside. And so much of what I've been teaching is useful for prevention and for people who have illnesses. And I think that there's been a blind spot in some of the work that I've been doing, and it revolves around support. And so you talked about who do I want to share my heart with, and and welcome intimacy in my life. We are creatures we're pack creatures, and I'm realizing this more and more, especially as I'm doing more work now with on behalf of cancer patients. And we really need community. We need to share our hearts with people. We need to get that mirror of love back and to also give it to others. And I think that that's a huge part of our vitality and our longevity. I mean, look at the stuff with the blue zones, or, recently I read, I'm still reading it because it's so good, a book by Lorenzo Cohen, PhD, who's from MD Anderson, and it's about anti-cancer living and what he calls the mix of 6 lifestyle practices. And the number one thing that he talks about is the importance of support. So like for all of our listeners, finding that tribe through the Food Revolution Summit, finding that community of like-minded people who you can lean on. I think that's how we get to this this happy life that we're all trying to create.
You mentioned us as pack animals, and a moment ago you spoke about that you had been, before your cancer diagnosis, a fast food junkie. And I'm thinking about when we start a new way of eating, when we want to change our diet and make it a healthier one, we might be afraid that it will be hard to live fully in the world, to participate in the social situations the way we used to. And we worry that it will make our relationships more difficult. And we won't know what to say to people who aren't on a healthy eating path or aren't on it the way we want to be. Kris, can you relate to those concerns?
Oh, absolutely. Not only for myself, but for, my followers. Definitely, because, food is love, food is family. We have so many traditions that revolve around the dinner table, or going out to celebrate the new baby or the promotion, or going out to grieve when somebody dies, or, we're going through a breakup, whatever it is. And when we tip the apple cart and maybe we don't want to go to the same restaurants, or, we feel awkward at the dinner party, it can feel very isolating. So what I like to say is, especially when let's say you're invited someplace, bring a healthy dish with you. Introduce people to this food. Or if you're going out to dinner, there's so many ways to make this work. You can focus on the side dishes. You can understand that not every single dinner adds up to some sort of failure, right? So we can't always do this perfectly either. And it's not about being perfect. It's just about making progress. It has nothing to do with perfection. But for me, I have this Sunday night dinner that I've been hosting for a while, and it's with friends and family or who's ever around. And it's a great time where I get to introduce people to new stuff, and people can bring things. And not everybody I know is a vegan like I am. My husband's a meat eater. So I say, fine, bring the dish that you love, and just make it the healthiest that you can make it. And there's a lot of ways that we can still break bread together and not be overwhelmed by this.
Well, when you mentioned that your spouse isn't a vegan, you are. He's a meat eater. I'm thinking about how many of us find safety, feelings of security in our habitual routines, and we derive comfort from the foods we grew up eating and the foods we're used to eating, and I sometimes feel like healthy diets should come with a warning label, warning people that if you eat healthfully, you're going to feel more alive. You're going to feel things that you maybe have buried or distanced yourself from. It could be destabilizing and confusing at first. Kris, what do you say to people who find the prospect of such a journey to be too overwhelming?
Well, that's such a great question. I mean, I can tell you that I went full tilt 100% healthy vegan, so not like muffin vegan or French fry vegan or I eat crackers and junk food vegan. Not that crackers are bad, but you know what I'm saying. There's a lot of ways to go plant-based, and I went pretty hardcore full health. And it was overwhelming for me in the beginning, but I was so scared of cancer that, that was my driving force. And I think that, like I said, you can lean into this. It doesn't have to be something that you do full tilt. And what I like to tell people is, why don't you start adding before you subtract? So add good things, add a green juice, add a healthy smoothie, add a salad, maybe try quinoa if you've never explored it before. There's a lot of things that you can add in your life, and therefore you won't feel deprived. And here's the thing, the more healthy foods that we add, the more we kind of crowd out the stuff that doesn't serve us. And I think you said it so well. When you start to feel better, you want to keep going. You start to look better. You start to, have more energy and vitality, and you can start playing with your kids, crawling around on the floor, doing that hike that you wish that you could do, but you felt too tired or overweight or whatever it is. Like, life opens up when you feel good. And so you actually start to have so many more options and opportunities than you can possibly even imagine right now. But to not overwhelm yourself on your way to those options and opportunities, start by adding.
You just mentioned that among the benefits is you start to feel better and you start to look better. And I know you have a section on your website called Beauty, where you offer tips for enhancing natural beauty and empowering us to make healthy, safe, and gorgeous choices, including how to make changes to our diets to help clear up our skin naturally. And I thought of you recently when I came across a study, and I want to speak about that study right now because I think it's really relevant to what we're talking about. And the study was based on the reality that there are animals who seem to select specific foods in order to increase their sexual attractiveness. An example would be there are many different bird species who eat carotenoid-rich caterpillars, and when they do, their breast plumage becomes brighter yellow, which makes them more attractive to potential mates. So researchers know this about the animal kingdom, and they wondered whether there might be a similar phenomena operating in human beings. And to find out, they conducted the study I want to speak about. It was a 6-week study of college students. And here's what they learned. They found that those students who ate 9 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, that's quite a bit. It's actually less than I eat, though, I will say, the students who ate lots of fruits and vegetables were found to have significantly healthier and more attractive complexions than those who ate less. Kris, it seems that eating more fruits and veggies doesn't just make us feel better, it makes us look better too. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. John, I think that beauty is an inside job.
Well put.
It really is.
It comes from within. It radiates from within.
Yeah, and I feel like this way of living is the medicine, and of course the fruits and the vegetables they matter. That's where the vitamins and minerals and enzymes and phytochemicals are, and antioxidants, and all of these things lead to our overall vitality and longevity and glowiness. But I think that we have to look at this in a holistic way too. So it's also about stress reduction. It's the nutrient-dense diet that we just talked about. It can be targeted supplementation that can also help, probiotics and things like that, so you're strengthening your gut health and therefore your immunity. Definitely our exercise, and I know that you've heard this, and it's something I always try to remind myself of. I set a little timer, actually, is like sitting is the new smoking. So we have to get up and move and walk around. And and not just be planted in our chairs all day long and then, exercise for 45 minutes and then sit back in our chairs or back on the couch to watch the Netflix and so on. We have to move our bodies. Same thing with sleep and proper hydration. So it's a holistic experience, and if we start there, I think that's really when we'll see the difference. And of course, not smoking or drinking heavily, and like I said earlier, taking care of your gut health. So I like to work on those things in combination with healthy skincare products. But I also say, don't waste your time and money on potions and lotions only, okay? Because again, beauty is that inside job, and our mutual friend Ken Cook from EWG, such a great resource there. You can use, I think it's their Skin Deep database, and you can really look up all of these products now that you're using to see just how toxic they are, because Lord knows we don't want to be cleaning up everything and then only to buy this really expensive stuff that's just laden with toxins and chemicals. So I don't know, that's a good place to start. Again, beauty is an inside job.
Well, what I got out of that study was that eating fruits and vegetables not only makes you healthier, but makes you more attractive to others, and it specifically improves the quality of your skin and complexion. And I remember that you used to sign some of your emails, peace and veggies. Do you still do that?
I still do. That's what I sign all of my books. I find a way. I'm always finding a way to talk about vegetables.
You are. And it's one of the things that makes you so marvelously helpful, I think, to people. Because you're always writing and speaking about prevention and eating vegetables and a healthy diet and healthy living, and you've been speaking and writing recently about the pillars of prevention, what we're eating and drinking and thinking and how we're resting and renewing. Can you explain that?
Yeah, sure. So, like I was mentioning earlier, that's been something I've been teaching a lot lately, and I am adding that support needs to be a part of it. So I think I'm going to have to add another pillar. So what we're eating and drinking, really the basis of this is the basis of Crazy Sexy Diet. So it's an anti-inflammatory plant-based diet. So making sure, as we've been talking about, that you're eating more vegetables. I mean, I like to look at my plate and make sure that at least half, more like 70% of my plate, is covered in vegetables. And I find a way to get them in 3 times a day. So I'm a big fan of juicing and blending, and so I'll start my day with green juice or a healthy smoothie, and just making sure I'm getting enough salad. And I have a garden, so I'm not always good at gardening, but I'm learning, trying to grow more of my own food. So that's the eating and the drinking part, making sure you're getting enough hydration, you're drinking enough water, and really being mindful about how much alcohol we're drinking or, how much coffee we're drinking. And it's so interesting because I love coffee. It's something that I deeply cherish. And I really love when the new studies come out like coffee good.
I do too. I do too, Kris.
It makes me so happy. But I know when I overdo anything,
yes,
I don't feel good. Right? So much about this diet for me is connect with your body. See how you feel. See how it feels when you eat these healthful foods. And then we're all going to slide. We're all going to have these moments. Who knows? Maybe there's a great birthday cake you have to dive into. And you notice when your diet cleans up and the healthier it gets, eating whole foods, plant-based predominantly, that you notice how you feel. You don't feel so hot when you deviate from that. And that's okay. It's just information, right? It doesn't mean you're again, supposed to be perfect about this, but you're getting to know what your body likes, what it needs, and you can see it. The proof is in the pudding, so to speak. The chia pudding, the avocado, cacao pudding, that's where the proof is. Because you will have that energy. You will have better immunity. You'll be the one that's looking around the office saying, geez, I didn't get sick this winter. Holy crap. This is really cool. It's because I changed my diet. And so eating and drinking and the thinking part is so crucial. And I know personally, John, as a cancer patient, there were years there where I was just riddled with stress and anxiety about what was going to happen to me. And then, I'm going to be honest, then I shared everything with the world and got successful. And then there were years that I was riddled with stress about whether I was doing enough, doing it right, whether I could support my family and grow my business and the people that I was employing, right? So when I think about what we're thinking, that is deeply connected to our stress, not only the stress from our everyday life. And again, this leads to inflammation, right, which is what we want to reduce. That's why this is an anti-inflammatory plan, because we know that inflammation is the root cause of most chronic diseases, right? So taking our stress seriously and taking our joy seriously. And I've been doing a lot of interviews lately, John, and one of the things that keeps coming up with the people that I've been interviewing who I look up to is we don't have to believe our thoughts. What? I didn't realize that for so long. We do not have to believe our thoughts. Those thoughts that say we're not good enough, we're not worthy enough, we'll never figure it out, we'll always be sick, we'll always be overweight, we may die of cancer, whatever it is. So when I think about this mind-body connection, it truly is about loving ourselves, caring for ourselves, accepting ourselves, taking that stress down. And as you know, John, this has a biological effect. This isn't just nice woo-woo stuff here. Taking that stress down also takes all those stress hormones down that do what? Suppress our immunity. So eating, drinking, thinking, how we're resting. I'll just go through each of these pillars briefly. How we're resting, that's about our sleep. Are we getting those 7 to 8 hours of sleep on a regular basis? You know, there's a lot of ways that we can go about improving our sleep hygiene. Keeping your room cool, making sure there are no light leaks. Whenever I go to hotels, I take all the washcloths and put them all over the little light leaks from the clocks and all these things. I don't know if you do that, John, but
I do.
Yeah.
Actually. I wear a blindfold too.
There you go, exactly. Because it's so vital to our ability to repair. That's when we're repairing. That's when we do cellular repair. So making sure we're getting enough rest, and rest happens from sleep, but rest also happens from really just taking a break. So I was recently on vacation in the Bahamas. It's this island that I love to go to with my husband, and I was really struck by this idea that I often confuse putter resting with real resting. So maybe those people listening can relate to this, but putter resting is when you might be home in your sweatpants, you might be kind of relaxing, maybe your kids are watching TV or movies, or your husband is reading the paper or whatever, but what you're doing is folding laundry, making lists, fluffing pillows, changing sheets. Like, it's not real rest.
You're still doing.
You're still doing. And so it's not to say that we don't have to do these things, but taking time to truly rest and unplug is vital, not only for our well-being, but for our creativity, for our joy, for our relationships, for our ability to be present. So that's the resting part. And the renewing part, to me, and maybe this is where the support comes in, but for me, renewing always comes from a place of joy. So I love hiking. I love moving my body. I love being strong in my body. I love spending time with, fun friends. I love creativity. I love writing. It gives me so much renewal. So making sure that we put some time aside, and we don't have to put huge swaths of time aside. We may not have it. But putting that time aside to do the things that we love.
When you were just speaking about the things that you love, you made a kind of a list there. None of those things were material objects. None of that involved consumption. None of that actually costs money.
Yeah.
And that's very freeing, that fact, that there are so many things we can do, that those are the things you love. Each of us will find the things we love. But in many cases, it's not that we love the car, the purchase. That's short-term gratification, and it does cost money and time and energy. And I, as you were making that list and speaking about bringing down our stress and doing what we love. I wanted to ask you, what are some of the most common places where women in particular tend to get stuck?
That's such a good question. I can speak from my own experience and also from my experience of leading communities that have many women in them. And I would say that first and foremost, it's the difference between caregiving versus self-care. So for women, I think it's very easy to be a caregiver. We are the nurturers, the mothers. I'm a mother of a dog, but I'm still a mother. So it's easy to want to just love and care and nourish and nurture the people in our lives that are so dear to us. And but sometimes it's very hard for us to also see ourselves and as another person in our life, this one great precious life that we also need to be dear to and care for. And I think that if we can shift out of this place of feeling guilty for taking time for ourselves, feeling like, oh, we should be giving it to somebody else, or, oh, my child really needed this, or my husband really needed that, or my partner really wanted this, or my wife really wanted that, whatever it is, like see ourselves, put ourselves in the mix. That is so incredibly important, not only for our health, but also I believe that it tells us we matter. I matter. I'm going to show up for myself because I matter. And like I said earlier, we have the ability to change our thoughts. And so when we say to ourselves, I don't matter, therefore I won't participate in my well-being, well, our thoughts create our reality. And our cells are listening. This is something that Deepak Chopra said. Our cells are listening. So I love to encourage every caregiver out there to also add yourself to the self-care mix. That's first and foremost. And the second thing we talked about a little earlier, which is I think sometimes, and I don't know if this is just women, so I'm going to ask you if you can relate to this as a man, is that we can get caught up in doing it perfectly, doing it right, making sure we don't mess up, making sure it's, as I said, perfect. But sometimes the pursuit of perfection makes it so we don't even start in the first place because we're so terrified of screwing up. Or we take 2 steps forward and we think we have a screw up, so to speak, a so-called screw up, and then we say, never mind. Throw in the towel. Get the Doritos. You know what I mean?
I do. Men have this too, so much. I'm thinking of a John Legend song where he sings about, it's a love song, and he's singing to his beloved about her, how much he loves her perfect imperfections.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of perfectionist tendencies. I think it's more of a curse than anything else. I've thought that it motivated me. I've thought that it kept me going, but really it just keeps me on a treadmill. And when you mentioned that women will sometimes feel guilty for taking time for themselves, I think that also applies to men. I think we all are living in a Judeo-Christian cultural context that has historically demonstrated a stunning ability to produce feelings of guilt. And many of us have been taught to see God as a punishing parent. It's easy then to see illness as a punishment. Kris, what's the difference between feeling guilty for being ill and taking responsibility for your life?
That's such a great question, John. It's another one. It took me a long time to truly understand. I think that guilt is a waste of time personally. The past is over. What's done is done, okay? We may never know why we get sick, and that's okay. And what I like to do is focus on the positive, focus on the proactive, which is, as you said, taking responsibility. Yeah, I may have participated in my disease in the past. That might be true. But I am not going to participate now. I'm participating in my well-being. And that's where I'm going to put my focus and I'm going to put my energy. I'm putting my energy into how to be well. So this, again, is about mental management. And when we sense those feelings coming up, I think that it's just a great opportunity to say, uh-oh, here you are again. I know you. I'm going to pause. I'm going to notice this feeling of guilt. And then I'm going to gently bring my thoughts back to love. So something that I like to do is just put my hand on my heart and close my eyes and say, I love you, sweetheart. I love you. This isn't your fault. Let it go. Like I said earlier, if you participated in the past, you're participating in your wellness now, right? You didn't know better then. You didn't have the tools then, and that's okay. You're okay. Now you're participating in your well-being. You've got this. I love you. And when we do that, John, and you can do your version of that, whatever that looks like, I think it's a great way to break that trance of guilt.
And I think there's a relationship between the trance of guilt and the never-ending pursuit of perfection.
Yeah, it was such a good way to bring it back to that. And, that's why I mentioned earlier, focus on progress. Just focus on progress. What did I do today that felt good? What did I do today that was good? What did I do today that got me one step closer to the tomorrow that I want? I want to share one more thing with you, actually, because I was thinking about this recently. And there's this, I don't know if you like the blues. Do you like the blues?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I love beautiful blues. That type of music has a way of making sadness and loss, even betrayal, these kinds of feelings that we can get hung up on and hurt with, beautiful, soulful. And,
yes.
and thereby become a kind of a doorway or a pathway into healing, into openness, into deeper compassion for ourselves and others. I love the blues.
I love that. I had a feeling that you would, because I know you and love you and thought, we're kindred spirits in so many ways. I wonder about this piece. So many years ago, I worked in one of the best blues bars in New York City, and I worked there for 5 years as a cocktail waitress. And I got to tell you, John, I learned so much from working at that place. And it was a pretty dingy, smoke-filled bar. And my habits were not the greatest back then, my healthy habits, but listening to these old-time blues singers come through town and tell their stories and sing their songs, and it just inspired me. And around that time is when I started to listen to B.B. King. And I love B.B. King. And so I was thinking about guilt and suffering and, how we torture ourselves and beat ourselves up with the thoughts that we play over and over in our mind, and how we have that opportunity to update the hard drive. And there's this song called Better Not Look Down. And so I Googled the lyrics before our interview, and just one phrase is, better not look down, or you might just wind up crying. You can keep it moving if you don't look down. Now, this is not about not experiencing our emotions, right, and releasing blocked emotions. But when I hear that, and I love that song, and when I read those lyrics, it's like, just don't get caught up in it, right? Don't get caught up in it. The past is the past. You want to keep flying, right? So keep it moving forward.
I don't know what she meant by those lyrics. Oftentimes, the musical lyrics can't exist on many dimensions.
Yeah.
And one of the things I thought of when I heard that was, don't look down on other people and don't look down on yourself.
Beautiful.
Contempt and disdain. We all can get into those mind states, but they're not helpful. And I've been thinking about the questions that we live with often are determinative of the quality of our lives more than the answers that we think we have. And if we ask ourselves, why did you get sick? That can be that can take us down.
Yeah.
And it's maybe unanswerable, really. But if we ask better questions, I'm thinking maybe, what is this an opportunity for?
Beautiful.
What are some of the other questions that you have found helpful to live with?
Well, I think this is what you said it perfectly. What is this an opportunity for? What is this here to teach me? What's coming up for me emotionally? Because oftentimes what's coming up has nothing to do with the thing that's happening. It might have to do with like an old boo-boo from the past. And the more we can just honor those wounds but not be victimized by them and dwell in them, but just use it as information so that we can start to rewire our brains and move forward, keep it moving.
Rewiring our brains. I think that when we change our diets and eat more healthfully and stop eating junk food, our brains do get rewired, which is a good thing. In a lot of cases, they need it. We feel better, but our minds also are clearer, and our spirits become more aligned with our highest purposes. And Kris, what is the relationship that you see between the food that we eat and our capacity to live according to our highest vision for ourselves?
Well, I'm a big animal lover, and I feel so lucky to be alive. It actually makes me emotional. I feel so lucky to be alive on this planet, and it's just so beautiful, right?
Yes.
And so I'm going to take a deep breath, come back.
Oh, it's beautiful. That you experience, that you're so moved by the feeling of being lucky to be alive. I just think I want to take a moment to just honor that feeling in all of us, whether it's dormant or active as it is in you, whether it's at the surface as it is in you, or latent. It is a beautiful reality and is a truth in our being. We are all grateful at some level to be alive and delighted and shocked almost by how, with all the suffering, with all the betrayals, with all the loss, with all the disappointments, with all the grief, it still is the case that if there's breath in our bodies, if there's love in our hearts, we are grateful. We are glad.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. I forgot who said this. I should remember, but it goes something like the greatest prayer we can say is thank you. And you made me think of that as you were speaking. And so I do feel that blessing. And that doesn't mean I'm always excited. Doesn't mean life is perfect all the time. But overall, the main feeling and emotion and passion that drives me comes from a place of gratitude. And so to go back to your question, it's a privilege to live in this world. And I think the more we realize how interconnected it is, that not only does it matter how we talk to ourselves and treat ourselves and care for ourselves, but it matters how we talk to others and treat others and care for them. And it goes beyond that. So it could start with us and spread to our family like these concentric circles of gratitude, and then to our communities, and then to society as a whole. And I feel like sometimes, like, what is so exciting when I see people, the light bulbs go on when they start to practice a plant-based diet is they begin to include our animal friends, right? And they move beyond the I love my cat and my dog, and I love my dog so much, and it's so important to have those connections. But then they start to realize, wow, I didn't realize that a cow has such a deeply social connection to their family, or how smart pigs are, or like how funny and quirky chickens are, etc. And so we start to see this interconnectedness, and I think it allows us to have more compassion. And when we can practice compassion on our plates, for me, it helps me feel better, like I am contributing and making a difference. And from that place, I know I'm making a difference with the planet, too. The choices that I make matter to my body, they matter to my family, to society, they matter to the animals, and they matter to this incredible planet that we live on.
I've always found it amazingly wonderful that the food choices, eating more vegetables, eating more fruits, seeds and nuts, and eating more plants and fewer animals that make us healthier and help us feel better and decrease our likelihood of many, many, many diseases and help us to live with vitality and vigor and beauty. are also the same food choices that cause the least suffering to animals and are most beneficial to the environment. They produce or are responsible for the fewest greenhouse gas emissions, the less amount of water pollution and water consumption, the least toxicity in the world. They're kinder to farm animals, and they're also, when we eat organic food, of course, we're sparing our bodies the pesticide residues. We're sparing the farm workers who are harvesting our food and working in the fields to produce our food. We're sparing them exposure to massive amounts of these neurotoxic and carcinogenic chemicals. And there's so many ways that when we start moving in a healthy direction, we're actually participating more deeply in the whole earth community's healing and in the web of life. And we're starting to honor our interconnection with all beings and the living web of life. And that is something that to me is spiritual. That to me is something that is so expansive and so fulfilling that I almost don't know how to talk about it sometimes.
Oh, wow. Well, I got to say, I'm so happy that you brought this conversation to those specific examples. And you say, I almost don't know how to talk about it. So I just want to share with our listeners, in 2003, when I was diagnosed, you, John, were one of the first people that hooked all this up for me. I was reading one of your books at the time, never thinking that one day I would get to know you. And I thought, oh, wow, I had no idea any of this existed. So I think that you know how to talk about this better than almost anybody I've ever listened to.
Well, thank you, Kris. It is still difficult. I don't know that our culture has quite caught up with how interwoven we are with the rest of life. We think of ourselves as separate. We think it's a dog-eat-dog world. Actually, even dogs don't eat dogs.
You're absolutely right. I'm just going to tell you a quick little fun joke. There's a lot of things that I say incorrectly. Like, I didn't know that chest of drawers were called chest of drawers. I thought they were Chester drawers for most of my life. And you said dog-eat-dog world, and it was only recently where I said my version of that, and my husband said, what did you just say? And I said, it's a doggy-dog world. He's like, no, it's not a doggy-dog world.
A doggy-dog world.
These are like rose-colored glasses you have on.
More true, though. More true.
Yeah.
More true. Well, that's beautiful. Somebody once said, stay close to the things that make you glad you're alive. And Kris, I see you as someone that's really doing that and has done that, has learned to do that in response to a cancer diagnosis of all things. And talk about turning the corner and making something beautiful. This isn't just lemonade. This is something that nurtures the world and nurtures all of our spirits. And you do this so beautifully. It's really always a pleasure to talk with you.
I feel the same about you, John. Thank you so much.
Well, there are now millions of people who are looking to you for guidance and help, and I'm glad they are. And I appreciate so much about you, Kris, including the bright, life-giving spirit that shines through you. Your journey, your example, your message invites each of us, whatever we're facing, to live every day of our lives to the fullest and to love those we love with our whole hearts.
Well, I love you and Ocean with my whole heart, so thank you.
Well, thank you, Kris. And on behalf of Ocean and myself and everyone involved in the food revolution, I want to thank you for your marvelous work, your heartful message to us all, and of course, for being with us today.
We've been talking with Kris Carr, director of Crazy Sexy Cancer and author of many bestsellers, including Crazy Sexy Kitchen. Kris, food can be such a serious topic. What we eat can literally determine whether we live in health or die of disease. But you bring so much joy to this conversation that you make healthy living irresistible. We want to thank you for your time, for your wisdom, for your bright light, for your deep love, and for your partnership in the food revolution.
Thank you again, and thank you, everybody, for listening.
so much to Kris, Carr, and to my dad for that beautiful, heartful, inspirational conversation. To express your opinions on what you've been hearing and to find out what other people are saying, post and engage in the comments section on our broadcast page. Make sure to refresh the comments using the Get the Latest Comments button that is on the right side of the page so you can see the most recent comments that have been submitted. Our next presentation will be an interview with New York Times bestselling author Dr. Joel Fuhrman. It will start at the top of the hour. We heard from Pamela Reismeyer, who said, "Thank you so much for including Kris Carr in the Food Revolution Summit. She is a fantastic teacher and role model. I have done her Crazy Sexy You program twice. Looking forward to the next one, and it truly saved my life. The first time I did the program in 2016, I was a junk food vegan heading toward all kinds of health problems. The simple instructions, the menus, the support of an incredible community helped to put me back on track. And each year the program gets better, and so do I. Thank you again." Well, thank you, Pamela, so much for participating and sharing this. We love having Kris Carr in this summit, and we love having you in this summit. We heard from Gary Dupuy, who said, "I am grateful for Whole Foods plant-based nutrition. Starting at age 50, I was plagued with obesity, hypertension, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, atrial fibrillation, and congestive heart failure. I was taking at one time or another medication for most all of these ailments. I read the China study, and my wife and I started eating primarily a Whole Foods plant-based diet. Now at age 55, I've lost 75 pounds, and I am off all my medications with doctor approval. My cholesterol, blood sugar, blood pressure, and ejection fraction are all normal now. I feel I have been given a new lease on life." Thank you so much, Gary. Congratulations, and thank you for sharing your story with us. A number of people have posted comments asking if this summit is supposed to be audio or video, so I want to make it clear it's an audio summit. On our broadcast page, you will see slides that shift as we go through the day to help you orient, and you'll see a few highlights from the presentations that our team is posting as we go along. You'll also see the comment stream with fellow summit participants. We've chosen to go with audio for the actual summit because it's a lot easier for our speakers who don't all have high-quality cameras and lighting in place, and this lets us focus on delivering the best audio quality possible. And it also makes it easier for everyone to participate while being able, if you want to move around, and that way you don't have to look at a screen in order to absorb it all. We also heard from Monique Erickson, who said, "I love Kris Carr. The repeating sentences are distracting from the interview. Hopefully they won't be in the replays and permanent recordings." Well, Monique, there are some repeating audio glitches. This is a result of a streaming error into YouTube Live. Our team is troubleshooting as we speak. If you've had this experience, we apologize, and we hope to have it addressed for the rest of the summit. And we will have it addressed on the individual replays as well as on the Empowerment Package recordings. For the YouTube viewers, please know it's a big undertaking to deliver this summit to hundreds of thousands of people, and we thank you so much for your patience, and even more so, for your participation. We heard from Mong Sai, who said, "Is there a better option, canned beans or cooking yourself?" Well, Mong, for many people, canned beans are more convenient, and considering how healthful legumes are, that's an important factor. But if you can cook them yourself, the biggest benefit is that you avoid exposure to any toxins that might leach out of the can itself. Now, this is a controversial topic, but it's true that a lot of cans contain BPA, which is an endocrine disruptor. When you cook legumes yourself, you save a little money and you avoid that potential exposure. My own take is that home cooked is optimal, but I also know we all live in the real world. Most of the legumes that people eat are coming from cans, and we have countless medical studies showing that people who eat more legumes tend to have lower rates of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and many forms of cancer. So I think it makes sense to do what works for you and to enjoy legumes in your diet, in most cases. We heard from Eunice Christensen, who said, "John Robbins mentioned coffee. What about acrylamides, cancer-causing, from roasting coffee?" Well, Eunice, this has been in the news a lot lately. Just last month, a judge in the state of California ruled that Starbucks and other coffee chains needed to post warnings because their brews might contain acrylamide, a potential carcinogen that's formed when foods containing both starches and a certain amino acid, asparagine, are cooked at high temperatures. Now, acrylamide is a byproduct of the coffee roasting process, and it's also found in breads and crackers, in French fries and potato chips, in canned black olives, prune juice, and even breakfast cereals. So is the acrylamide in coffee a serious concern? Well, if we look at the real world, outside of courtrooms and lab theories, I have never heard of a single study that found an elevated risk of cancer in people who drank more coffee. To the contrary, one study found consumption of coffee could cut mouth and throat cancer risk by 50%. Other studies have found that coffee reduces the risk of many other types of cancer, including uterine, prostate, brain, colon, breast, liver, lung, and skin cancers. We don't know for certain if the acrylamide in coffee poses any health risks, but we do know that coffee is associated with broad health benefits for a lot of people. So it seems to me that avoiding coffee altogether just on account of acrylamide is a bit like avoiding the outdoors because sunshine can cause cancer. It is true that some danger exists, but your health would likely suffer if you spent your whole life indoors as a result. We heard from Amanda McAllister, who wrote, "This really resonates with me. I've been putting off taking care of myself for so long. I say I'll start tomorrow or I'll start Monday. When I do start, if I have a slip and eat something I shouldn't, I've been throwing in the towel and going through the same cycle of starting again some other day. But I can start today, and I should start today. My health and my family's health is worth it. I want to be around for my kids and eventually my grandkids. Not only do I want to be here for them, but I want to be here and healthy into my old age. Thank you, Kris Carr, for your wonderful message. You are so inspiring." Well, thank you, Amanda, for sharing in this journey. A lot of people do procrastinate making the changes we need to make because, as they say, old habits die hard. But we don't have to die with them. Let's make the changes now. Right now, I think that we can be part of a wave that is sweeping the world of people who are saying enough is enough to toxic food. We're fed up with being sick. We're tired of being tired, and we're hungry for a change. And right here and right now, we are participating in creating that change, not just for ourselves, but I want to invite you right now to feel this wave, to feel the hundreds of thousands of people in this summit, the millions of people in this movement, and to let that wave carry you and support you into putting one foot in front of the other on your path to greater health, vitality, and integrity with what you really want for your life. And now we have a special surprise for you. One of the things Kris mentioned has been helpful to her is her blender. She often talks about how, for many people, juicers and blenders become dust collectors. But we need to dust them off and put them to use. What might be the strongest and most popular consumer-level blender available is the Vitamix. Vitamix is a company that's passionate about the food revolution, and to show their support for this mission, they're giving away a free, brand new black Vitamix Exploration Series E310 with a 5-year warranty to a summit participant. It's a powerful machine that can make a powerful difference, and we've been receiving a lot of wonderful comments on the broadcast page. One of them came from Emily Martin from Paxton, Massachusetts. Emily, you are the winner of this Vitamix Exploration E310. Emily wrote to us, "My type 2 diabetic husband has now been diagnosed with AFib and congestive heart failure. We have sort of been on a whole food diet for a few years, but now we really have to get serious about eating healthy. So we appreciate the info we are getting from listening to all these wonderful experts." Well, Emily, I'm so sorry to hear about the struggles your family is facing. And you know, the truth is, as we heard from Kris Carr, a healthy diet is no magic bullet to cure everyone from all ills for all eternity. But we do the best we can. And when we make choices that are statistically correlated with positive health outcomes for large numbers of people, we help to move our lives in positive directions. So I hope that this Vitamix will support you and your husband on your healthy eating path. Congratulations. Our team will follow up with you. And now it's time for this segment's Empowerment Package giveaway. We heard from Nancy Ripa Banks, who said, "Thank you so much for the great work you are doing. I changed my life unconsciously by changing what I eat as a teenager, choosing to eat no meat, fish, or eggs starting in 1971. My ex was vegetarian, and I didn't cook or have a clue about food. Well, that's changed my life forever. People used to make fun of me for eating organic back then, but now the joke's on them. And if you ask anyone that's known me for 50 years, I have been and am the healthiest person they know. Still eat and juice organic. It has served me well for a lifetime of excellent health. Finally, there are mentors and guides and coaches taking this information to the mainstream. Your work paves the way. Again, thank you so much for your mission. You are literally saving many lives. Well, Nancy, thank you for joining in this mission for decades, and we want to help you spread it and share it with other people too. So you now own the empowerment package. Our team will follow up with you. Congratulations. You'll own the MP3s and transcripts of the entire summit for life. And congratulations also to all of our other new, most recent empowerment package owners, including Kemunto from Washington, Yvonne from Florida, Janie from Georgia, Sarah from Texas, Mike from Iowa, Ashlyn from Oregon, Anne-Marie from Massachusetts, Amanda from South Carolina, Richard from Minnesota, and Norida from Virginia. And everyone else who's stepping forward, thank you so much for supporting our mission, and congratulations on owning it all for life. In a moment now, you're going to hear us on the line with New York Times bestselling author Dr. Joel Fuhrman on nutritional excellence for optimal health. But first, a 1-minute video about the Food Revolution Network mission. Here we go. At Food Revolution Network, our mission is healthy, ethical, and sustainable food for everyone who eats. We want kids to learn about healthy food in school. We want doctors to learn how nutrition impacts health in medical school. We want the routine use of antibiotics banned from factory farms. We want a world where everyone, regardless of their ethnic or economic background, has knowledge of and access to healthy food for their family. We want a world in which heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, obesity, and diabetes are rare, and in which vibrant health is the status quo. We're spreading the word and standing for change. And with every empowerment package purchased, we make a donation to Trees for the Future, enabling them to plant an organic fruit or nut tree in a low-income community. Join this movement and support this mission. Welcome to the Food Revolution Summit, where we explore how you can heal your body and your world with food. This is Ocean Robbins, and I am joined by my dad and colleague, John Robbins, in welcoming our guest, Dr. Joel Fuhrman. Dr. Fuhrman is a board-certified family physician and a researcher who specializes in reversing disease through excellent nutrition. He's the million-copy New York Times best-selling author of multiple books, including Eat to Live and Fast Food Genocide, and he's a wildly popular host of numerous PBS specials. Dr. Fuhrman has helped tens of thousands of people lose weight permanently and reverse chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune diseases, and chronic pain syndromes using a nutrient-dense eating style he calls the Nutritarian diet. Dr. Fuhrman is president of the Nutritional Research Foundation and a member of the Dr. Oz Show Medical Advisory Board. So now, Joel, we are so excited for this time with you. And now for the interview, I'm going to hand it over to my dad, John Robbins.
Well, thank you, Ocean, and thank you, Joel, for being with us.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm really excited to talk to you, as always. Looking forward to it.
Well, I love your new book, Fast Food Genocide. What a title. What an intense title. And yet, as I read it, I began to understand why you chose a title like that. And I just want to give a little context. Ultra-processed foods now account for nearly 2/3 of the calories eaten by humans in the United States. And that diet style is spreading worldwide. We know these mass-marketed, factory-produced foods are causing widespread chronic disease, and we know they're shortening lifespans. But one of the things I found so remarkable in your new book, Fast Food Genocide, is you cite convincing evidence that the consumption of these foods is also lowering our intelligence, fostering antisocial behavior, and creating mental illness. and that the avalanche of fake food that's taken over our nation and is spreading across the world is in fact feeding learning disabilities and depression and aggressive behavior and even drug addiction, violence, and crime. So I want to begin our conversation, Joel, by asking you, how have you come to these extraordinary conclusions?
Well, thanks, John. And it does seem kind of, me just listening to it seems kind of scary even. You know, the evidence is there. It's accumulated over the years to the point where we can't bury it any longer. And I just had to put this book together. And obviously, I've been working on this book for about 4 years. But the documentation and the amount of evidence is overwhelming. We have 1 in 5 Americans are now mentally ill. And the major disability of all ages, including teenagers, is depression. And now we've linked the onset of this growing explosion of depression to commercial baked goods, processed foods, and fast food. And this is just one example. I mean, another example might be that, for example, people have no idea the dangers of what they're eating. But there's 7 times the risk of early life stroke. We're talking about people having strokes before the age of 45. And this is happening all the time, 7 times risk in urban areas where people are eating more fast food than other areas. These are people in their 30s and 40s. We never even saw strokes occurring in younger ages. We never even saw people with diabetes. When I first started out as a physician, 30 years ago, we didn't even see diabetes in teenagers. Now we're seeing kids with strokes in the teenage years, and we never knew that the damage can be passed on to future generations and magnified as it goes on to subsequent generations, taking away people's propensity or taking away their opportunity to have a full, varied life with all their mental faculties intact because of the fast foods even their parents ate. So it is kind of scary, even talking about it.
Well, as I listen to you, I find myself wondering, could we really prevent a significant amount of the depression and the strokes that are happening today by improving what people eat? Could we really improve our ability to learn and to live up to our potential for productivity and for kindness and happiness by eating a diet that has the full spectrum of nutrients that humans need without consuming excess calories? In other words, by eating a nutritarian diet. Could we really do that?
We know we can change things dramatically and give people the opportunity using these advances in nutritional science to say no to heart attacks and strokes, to say I don't want to be demented in my later years. I want to have my full mental faculties and feel great. And you know what? I don't want my children to have learning disabilities and autism and childhood cancers and autoimmune diseases and higher propensity for brain tumors. And these illnesses are largely caused by the sensitivity of the human brain to negative nutritional input. I'm also saying that the people that don't get diagnosed with major depression are still being affected by those foods and having their emotions negatively affected because they're not floridly depressed, but they have negative thinking, more likely to anger, more propensity for violence, more likely just to feel as a fog, their loss of mental clarity. They're not enthusiastic about life, and they're living for stimulation with food. Instead of living for life, to be active, to be creative, to use your mind, to think of, to work together with other humans for good purposes, they get overweight, they get diabetic, they go to doctors, they take drugs, and they don't see another way. And they're like in a prison. They don't see how food put them in that prison and how the right diet or the right food can save them and make them so much happier. So they're not equating their ability to have a happy life with their food choices. And this is what I'm really hoping that people can understand from this information.
Reducing or eliminating our consumption of processed foods can be a challenge for a lot of us. If you were to remove all the foods from a typical supermarket that contain added sugars, you would remove 80% of the items in the store. The shelves would be almost empty. So what I want to ask you, Joel, is what can you say to help people to understand how they can make food choices that will give them optimal brain function and the highest quality of life? Basically, I'm asking, what is exactly the nutritarian diet?
Right. Well, the first principle of a nutritarian diet is eating a diet rich in nutrients. Obviously, that's what's called nutritarian. It's high nutrient. We want people to have an excellent amount of micronutrients, which include vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and phytochemicals. And as you know, the brain needs a continual supply of antioxidants Even compared to our muscle tissues, the brain is a big utilizer and has a huge requirement for antioxidants to keep itself healthy and keep the brain cells working. And, people know, and everybody knows, but I think it's well versed in the scientific literature that excess calories shorten lifespan. But nobody's talking about it. Even when we know that these studies on animals, when they cut back their calories a little bit, have them eat a little less, but feeding them good nutrients, they could live 1.5 times longer. But everybody's thinking that caloric restriction with a human is like too demanding or too impossible to do. You can't go around eating less food. It's too uncomfortable. I'd rather just live a shorter life. I'm going to eat whatever I want. But the secret to a nutritarian diet is that when you eat a diet that's so nutrient rich in fiber and nutrients and get those full spectrum of nutrients, it naturally suppresses the appetite. So you're no longer craving to exceed your caloric requirements, because exceeding your caloric requirements speeds up aging and makes you live a shorter life. And the point here is when you eat a lot of green vegetables and onions and mushrooms and berries and seeds, and you're making sure your diet gets a lot of these nutrients and fibers, you're satisfied with much less calories, and that sets the starting point for a very long life where you don't develop these diseases. So that's basically the first principle, is eating a diet that's nutrient rich without caloric excess.
I'm thinking of how the human brain functions. It's a living organ, and it's exquisitely dependent on nutrients. Now, many people who eat poorly from a health perspective will say it's their right to do so, it's their choice to do so, and I really can't argue with that. It is their right, their choice. But I wonder how many of such people ever consider the addictive nature of highly processed foods, especially those with added sugars, and how the addictive nature of these foods affects their freedom and their choices.
That's right. They're not free. They've lost the keys to the bank. It's like they're no longer in control of their own emotions even. It's like the cigarette smoker. They know cigarette smoking is bad, but they can't quit because they're a slave to cigarette smoke. These foods are designed to make you want to overeat because the calories are absorbed so rapidly into the bloodstream all at once. It has the effect to stimulate dopamine receptors in the brain, the same as if you taken an opiate or snorted cocaine. But the point is that the more you have this caloric rush of calories that enter the bloodstream in such a large bolus all at once, then the brain becomes dopamine insensitive, and you stop feeling that same degree of stimulatory pleasure from the food. And you need greater amounts of food, more concentrations of sugar, a bigger meal, a bigger soda, and then you're overweight and can't control yourself, and you have a health crisis. And we know that people who are overweight or diabetic are more prone to violent and angry outbursts, and they're more prone to criminal behavior and more prone to depression and more prone to all these things we're talking about, that food makes your brain unstable.
When you're talking about how unhealthy food makes your brain unstable, I'm thinking that our brains are constantly generating metabolic wastes, toxins that are produced by the normal metabolic processes in the brain. And these metabolic wastes are naturally there, but they're naturally removed. But they're only removed if the phytonutrients that are needed for that task are adequate. So if our diets are deficient in key micronutrients, then, Joel, will our brains be unable to function in a healthy manner because they're polluted by a buildup of free radicals and other metabolic wastes?
Well, that's exactly right, and that's one of the processes that's going on. There's lots of ways the brain cannot function normally. It's funny, though, how as you're talking, I'm saying to myself, it's funny how people can see when they eat unhealthy, they get fatter, and their liver can be clogged, and their heart can be clogged with fat, and their pancreas could be infected, but they don't see how the brain is so vulnerable. And even the organ that has the potential to show the damage first and most powerfully, before you even see the heart disease or the diabetes occur, you're already starting to see, changes to your affect and ability to your emotions and your interactions with people and your lack of ability to succeed at college, even if you can't do as well in school. And we're talking about people in high school or college who can't do as well, or people can't even get to college because their brain function has been deadened or their intelligence has been diminished by these foods. So absolutely, and it happens in subtle ways, so people don't see it happening. And the unfortunate thing, and another reason for that title, fast food genocide, unfortunately, is that it affects the next generation in a way that magnifies the potential. In other words, when you have a parent with bad nutrition, that child could have growth retardation, interuterine growth retardation. The person is more likely to have learning disabilities, more likely to have difficulty in school, and their difficulties are magnified before they're even born and they ate their first fast food meal.
You know, I'm glad we are talking about it, or starting to talk about it, thanks to your book and other people who are starting to sense how important this is, and that our brains are being harmed by the fast food diet style. And you're saying, and you're presenting evidence, compelling evidence, I must say, that the harmful effects of this way of eating creates not just a decline in intelligence, but a decline in intelligence for future generations, and possibly an increase in autism and childhood cancers and diabetes and other serious metabolic abnormalities down through subsequent generations.
Right. And, it's all, we have this take a pill to solve every problem mentality in this country, right? We're spending billions of dollars to find this magic pill to prevent breast cancer or to treat breast cancer, as if we can have a magic pill that's going to enable people to smoke 3 packs of cigarettes a day and not get lung cancer, when the answer is already right there. Just don't smoke those cigarettes. And it gets back to this way of thinking with regard to childhood cancer as well, because you're broadening up the idea like autism and childhood cancer, and it gets back to the idea that, well, we see birth defects and neural tube defects in children because the mother's levels of folate in the bloodstream are so low, so we give them a pill. We give them a folic acid pill. Instead of, the word folate comes from the Latin foliage, which means from, obviously green vegetables, and vegetables are very high in folate. And most people on nutritarian diets eating copious amounts of green vegetables, their blood levels for folate are outside of the normal range, being too high. But in any case, the American diet is so low in folate that the answer of our health professionals is to give people a petroleum-derived product called folic acid, which doesn't even have the biological effects that folate does. And sure, it lowers neural tube defects a little bit, but it promotes cellular replication, and it promotes cancer. And now we've got people taking folic acid, not realizing it increases the risk of breast cancer. It's no substitute for the real thing, which is folate. But now we've got people taking this pill instead of having to eat green vegetables. And the lack of green vegetables in the diet increases risk of childhood cancer. So we enabled our population not to need green vegetables to prevent neural tube defects. In the process, we've exploded the risk of autism, childhood cancer, and brain tumors in the process. But that's okay. We'll spend billions of dollars looking for a magic pill to solve those problems. You follow me?
I totally follow you. And, it's very sad. The standard American diet, the acronym for that is SAD, S-A-D. And yet I have been, and I suspect you have also been, continually impressed by what happens when people shift their diets and start to get optimal nutrition, and when they also retrain their palates to enjoy the flavors of healthy food choices and green leafy vegetables. They lose weight, they recover from high blood pressure, they reverse diabetes, headaches, acne, fatigue, bad skin, constipation, these kinds of things become things of the past. And I've also noticed dramatic improvements in people's mental outlook and their moods when people eat more healthfully. They often feel better about themselves. They feel better about life in general. Their brain fog lifts. They're no longer depressed. They feel excited about life and about their own future. And Joel, what I want to ask you is, how often do you see these kinds of changes in people who adopt your dietary principles? And is that part of what inspires you to continue doing what you're doing?
Definitely. I mean, you can get I'm sure people can get the idea of how passionate I am with my work. And part of that passion comes from that this is a very exciting field, and I'm blessed. I'm really so grateful to have the opportunity to work with individuals and who trust me with their health when they're in dire circumstances, to see children and elderly people and people in all different ages who are suffering. And to watch these people recover their health that's the real central thrill of why people want to become a physician or be a healthcare practitioner, is because of the thrill of actually helping other people. And you could see the frustration that so many doctors have with their jobs, seeing people just get sicker and sicker. They get to a point where they don't even like their careers. They're doing it just for the money, and they're hoping to retire or get out as fast as they can, and they become jaded. And it all has to do with the way medicine is practiced. But it's getting to this idea that when obviously it's so thrilling for me to see thousands of people across the country, many thousands who send me letters and emails, recover their health, lost weight, got rid of their diabetes, got their mental outlook and enthusiasm back for life. And we were saying earlier that it's not just the people that are depressed, though. We're getting people with depression get well again, and not having them stay on the antidepressant medications the rest of their life is certainly incredibly rewarding. But so many people have that mild form of mental fog and just lack of enthusiasm of living that we see people get back. And it's part and parcel. When you start losing weight and feeling good and you physically feel well, and you're no longer needing drugs anymore, and you're not sickly anymore, and you're thinking more clearly, and you're happier, and you're more enthusiastic about your life, and you're not living in fear. Because when you eat a standard American diet, the medical profession is treating you to live life in fear with those mammograms and colonoscopies and testing, always thinking you're going to be on that table getting your chest cut open, because your heart's going to go, or you're going to have cancer, we're going to search for it, we're going to try to catch it early to possibly save you. It's all these things, but you don't have to worry about these issues. The whole point of being a nutritarian is it sets you free, and it sets you free of having that fear, and it sets you free of having to have you being tortured by doctors, with a constant fear of, going on. And also, we have to recognize that as your fog lifts and as your clarity of thought improves, your taste improves and your smell improves and your ability to enjoy simple food improves. Now a strawberry has a flavor, and a piece of lettuce or celery actually has a sweetness to it that you never even knew existed before.
Well, I have found that the pleasure of living in a healthy body, the pleasure of being vital and vibrant and full of energy and mental clarity, tremendously surpasses the momentary pleasures of ice cream or chocolate cake or whatever dietary sins one might be prone to. I want to ask you some specific questions about the nutritarian lifestyle and diet. You present, and we have an ever-growing amount of evidence that brain function and human potential are being undermined by the food most of us are eating. And I want to ask you something very specific about that. What is the impact of high glycemic foods, in particular, on brain health and on our ability to think clearly?
Right, and that's one of the key factors here. And we're talking about the rush of calories into the bloodstream. Because the word glycemic, it's not just the amount of sugar that the food contains or glucose. It's how fast that glucose enters the bloodstream. Because I could eat a bean, which could put 200 calories of beans could put 100 calories of glucose into my bloodstream. But those 100 calories are going to come in over a 3-hour period. That's less than 1 calorie a minute. So there's hardly any insulin the body has to make to deal with that 1 calorie of glucose coming to the bloodstream a minute, and it keeps you stable and your body is functioning well. But when you eat a food with a high glycemic load, that means those 100 calories rushed in a few minutes. So you had like 25 calories a minute coming in, or 100 calories coming in 4 minutes, not in 120 minutes. But the point here is that when the calories come into the bloodstream rapidly, with high glycemic load foods, the body has to respond by promoting a huge bolus of insulin. A huge amount of insulin enters the bloodstream to lower the sugar. And insulin is a fat storage hormone, and it promotes cellular replication and cellular growth. In doing so, it's cancer promoting. Excess insulin doesn't just promote obesity and diabetes, because obviously the more insulin your pancreas has to produce, eventually it poops out. And as you produce more fat on the body fat on the body makes you become insulin resistant. Now the insulin doesn't work as well anymore, so the pancreas responding has to produce even more insulin for a person that's overweight than if you just had the high glycemic food and not being overweight. But all this insulin, which is obviously fat storage promoting, promotes angiogenesis, which means it's a permissive hormone that allows blood vessels to grow to fuel the fat. Because fat can't grow on the body without demanding new blood vessels to penetrate it. In other words, the word angiogenesis means the growth of new blood vessels, like a tree is growing new sprouts. And cancer cells or abnormal tissue secretes angiogenesis promoters, and fat cells secrete angiogenesis promoters, and insulin permissively allows that and accelerates that. So in doing so, in a sense, it's a cancer-promoting hormone. So we're saying that high glycemic foods age us, weaken brain cells, create a brain stress, an oxidative stress in the brain, and also obviously promote other factors and hormonal effects that increase your risk of dying from cancer as well. And then we're talking here about honey and maple syrup and other things beside, and white rice and white bread. In other words, white bread is just like eating a sugar cube.
Well, a lot of us have sweet tooths, and I do. And when I'm cooking and I need a sweetener, I'll use organic dates. I'll use raisins or prunes or bananas or even applesauce. And so what I want to ask you, Joel, is the effect of using dates and raisins and dried bananas and things like that to sweeten desserts the same or different than using conventional sweeteners like honey or maple syrup or sugar or agave nectar?
There's a complete different biological effect. When you're taking sugar from honey or maple syrup with no fiber present, or in the form of sweeteners, with no fiber present and no significant amount of bioflavonoids or anthocyanins, when you're eating the sugar from a piece of fruit, like an apricot or a date, the fiber slows the absorption, and the biological effects is to support the growth of bacteria that line the digestive tract that also slow the absorption of glucose. But you're not eating a diet of all dried fruit. And the effect of the beans and the green vegetables and the onions and the mushrooms also affect the ability of that date or that raisin or that fruit to lower the glycemic effect. These four foods fuel the growth of the microbiome that becomes more adherent. In other words, the biofilm thickens that covers the villi, the finger-like projections in the small intestines. And the villi get covered with the bacteria that slow the absorption of food, and the bacteria develop a physical contact with the fiber and actually eat some of that glucose and ease its absorption into the bloodstream, which has a beneficial effect on allowing that glucose to come in over a period of hours as opposed to a period of minutes. So what I'm saying is that the glycemic effect of foods plays a role, but as you eat foods that have natural sugars, that's an important role in the way those natural sugars and fibers interact with the microbiome, and also the other protective foods you eat to make the biofilm more favorable also has an effect to keep the glycemic effect of your diet favorable.
You mentioned a moment ago fats, and there are many diet authorities who espouse very low-fat diets. And I understand that bottled vegetable oils and certainly many animal-derived fats have serious drawbacks. But you've said that we can absorb almost 10 times as much of some of the beneficial nutrients in vegetables when we eat nuts or seeds with the same meal. So, Joel, can you explain why this is so?
Right. Well, there's a lot of things going on here that are important to discuss or to realize. But we know that when we look at meta-analysis, the word meta-analysis means we're putting together large numbers of studies. And all these studies show that in these analysis that we find that people that eat nuts and seeds generally live longer. And we know that we could list the reasons why, but one of the reasons here is that eating some fat with your vegetables facilitates the absorption of the anti-cancer compounds and these longevity-promoting and age-inhibiting compounds that we absorb from vegetables when we eat a little fat with the meal. We're talking here about when you eat the fat from nuts and seeds. Remember we talked about the sugars, the beans going into the bloodstream real slowly. The same thing here is when the fat from nuts and seeds are only allowed to enter the bloodstream slowly over many hours, as opposed to rushing in all at once. We say from the lips to the hips within like 5 minutes when you eat oil. So it's a completely different biological effect stimulating fat storage and fat storage hormones when you get the fat from oil as opposed to the original whole food that it came from. So these whole foods have particular beneficial effects, and they're rich in beneficial ingredients like sterols and stanols and other beneficial phytochemicals besides the fact that they're magnifying the beneficial effect of other foods. And also, the brain needs this continual and slow amount dripping of fat into the bloodstream, prevents you from overeating or wanting to eat more food. It keeps you stable for many hours. And there's lots of beneficial effects.
So we have a lot of evidence that people who eat seeds and nuts live longer, have less cancer, have fewer heart attacks, less diabetes, and are healthier in many other ways too. And part of that is due to the nutrients in seeds and nuts, the sterols and the stanols and the other phytonutrients. And part of it is due to the fat in these seeds and nuts, preventing us from overeating and helping to keep our blood sugar levels stable. Joel, I have seen a number of long-term vegans who eat exceedingly low-fat diets, who avoid seeds and nuts. And I thought that I've seen in those folks more depression. And I've wondered, is there any evidence of this in the medical literature?
There's meta-analysis and studies showing that a lot of vegans have a higher risk of depression, and we're seeing that especially on these low-fat vegan diets, because the brain isn't getting enough fat, and they're not. And a lot of these people recommending the low-fat vegan diets, and like even a nut is something to be looked at unfavorably, are also not recommending people take DHA, which they're not supplying in their diet, because they're assuming that the body's going to make enough from the EPA or from the green fat or the little bit of fats they're consuming. And my 25 years of experience with tens of thousands of people on vegan diets and many of which come to me because they get in trouble, it most often gets down to depression or some problem with fatty acids. And usually, there's other things. Some people do require more protein. Some people are poor assimilators of certain nutrients that require some tweaking of their diets. And some people, as they get older, their ability to assimilate protein goes down. They need to modify their vegan diet to include more of the high-protein plant foods like hemp seeds and pine nuts and black beans and tempeh. So in other words, there's some modification that needs to be made because of their individual differences. But the point I'm making right now is depression and dementia are potential risks for people on these extremely low-fat diets, vegan diets, and thinking fat is the enemy.
As you've been discussing the beneficial effects of seeds and nuts, I was thinking about how flax seeds and hemp seeds and chia seeds in particular, and walnuts for that matter, provide the very important omega-3 fatty acids, and that flax and chia seeds are also highest in cancer-fighting lignans. I've heard you recommend that we eat at least a tablespoon of flax, hemp, or chia seeds every day. Can you explain why?
Yeah, because, this is the cool thing, is that, the lignans, L-I-G-N-A-N, as opposed to lignans, N-A-G-N-I-N, which is a fiber in food, and the lignans is like a phytochemical that has anti-cancer effects, and of course flax seeds and chia seeds have both, but in any case, these are beneficial, very beneficial nutrients. And what we're saying here is that, sure, a plant-based or a diet that's largely of plants or mostly of plants is certainly, right now, in human history, been shown in long-term studies to be protective to extend human lifespan. And some foods account for these lifespan benefits more than other foods, and some foods have shown to have powerful effects to prevent cancer, like these lignans in flax seeds and chia seeds. So it's not, even though nuts and seeds are healthy, by directing your attention to have some of these seeds that have been shown to have dramatic effects to protect against cancer makes the diet even more spectacular. And even though vegetables are healthy, directing some attention to eat a diet that has some cruciferous vegetables on a regular basis that supply you with isothiocyanates, the ITCs, that have been shown to have dramatic protection against cancer in scientific studies. We're talking about studies that follow people for decades. One study I can think of right now is a study that had women with breast cancer and followed them for 10 years and checked their death rate from breast cancer over that 10-year period, and found that those with some lignin in their diet, with even a third of a milligram of lignin, had a 71% decreased risk of dying of breast cancer over that 10-year period compared to women not having lignans in their diet. And that was even a small amount of lignans. It wasn't even a teaspoon. It was like a tenth of a teaspoon on the average in that study. But the point is that if we're seeing these effects with people who already have cancer, keep in mind that the effects are magnified when you start these habits earlier in life. And the effects are more protective and more powerful when you eat these protective foods before you even get cancer. I'm not saying we should ever throw in the towel and say your goose is cooked, because even when you have cancer, we can prevent death and we can extend people's lifespan. But the point is, don't wait till something's wrong to do it, because it's even more protective when you start it earlier, and it's still strongly protective when you do it then. And the same thing we see with the ITCs in green vegetables, and the same thing we see with the organosulfite compounds that are in onions and scallions, and the same thing we see, with some of these aromatase inhibitors that are in mushrooms. So in other words, we're trying to using these advances in modern nutritional science to give people this opportunity we never had available to us before. We can actually design a diet with with a full portfolio of foods that have an incredible effect against cancer, and use them symphonically. Because when we use them together in the diet, we can really see dramatic protection against and ability to extend human lifespan.
Which is a really beautiful and possible option that's available to us. When you were talking a moment ago about vegans and depression and extremely low-fat diets, I've seen studies that found a dose-dependent relationship between high glycemic load foods and depression. And I've seen other studies that indicate that eating commercially baked goods, high glycemic carbohydrates like white bread, can be even more dangerous to our long-term health than eating eggs or poultry. So Joel, if we want to design our diets for excellent nutrition for the long haul, and we want to have superior health, what's your view of the optimum amount and type of animal products that we should be eating, if any?
Well, that's a very difficult question, but I think that if we look at blue zones, epidemiologic studies, these long-term studies following people for decades, I look at it this way, that that the American diet is about a third of calories from animal products. So let's just round that down to 30%. Now here's what I'm saying, that in that 30% range of calories from animal products, people of all genetic types develop heart disease and cancer and problems. So you can't escape from that. There's no genetic person that's not going to develop disease eating that many animal products. We see in that middle range between, let's say, 10 and 20%, the people more susceptible to get these diseases. Let's just assume for a minute in an ideal world they're not eating a lot of sugar and white rice and soda and other processed carbohydrates. But so we're adjusting that animal product level with like a dialing it up or down, and we're seeing there's more genetic risk in that mid-range. And as you drop below 10% in populations that generally don't eat many processed foods, we see cancer rates and heart attack rates almost non-apparent, non-existent. And when we go below 5%, we see disease reversal occur in almost every patient. But generally speaking, the answer to your question is that I cannot, with scientific accuracy, determine whether a vegan diet would be more lifespan promoting than a diet that has 5% of animal products. That may be determined in the future when more evidence comes out, but right now it appears that if you're in the 0 to 5% range and your diet is otherwise designed excellently, you're in a relatively safe place. However, as we go above 5%, and certainly as we go above 10%, we start to see disease risks increasing and reducing the potential to reverse disease, especially when advanced. So even though the answer is a little convoluted and I couldn't give you a precise answer, I think you got it. The overall effect is we're moving people in the right direction, but we can't say with certainty what's perfect for each person, but it should be relatively low.
We have to take responsibility for our own well-being. We want to listen to the guidelines and principles. We want to understand what's being learned in nutritional science. We want to put that into practice. And at the same time, we have to honor our biochemical individuality, our metabolic individuality, our genetic individuality, all the ways that we are unique. And yet, at the same time as we do that, appreciate what's being learned, what the general principles are. And one of those general principles seems to me that, and you've mentioned this, is to eat things like berries. I mean, berries are increasingly recognized as excellent foods for the brain. They've been shown to reduce oxidative stress, to improve communication between brain cells. And it's not just blueberries. I mean, strawberries and blackberries and raspberries have shown similar properties.
Cherries and pomegranates.
Yes. So tell us, Joel, why do berries and cherries and pomegranates, why are they such important components of an optimal high nutrient diet?
It's funny how these colors of the full symphony of colors from the rainbow are so protective for the human brain, and these are anthocyanins and carotenoids that are, berries and cherries, and these foods have nutrients that you don't find in green vegetables, and that's the beauty, is that the body gets such incredible health when you mix together these various foods that people earlier in human history couldn't do. But the point is that we don't have to be demented with aging. We can expose ourselves to the full complement of foods, and we have the availability with modern transportation methods to have these foods available all year today. And people are afraid of them, but by getting this full assortment, we can actually achieve incredible health with the incredible fertile soils and ability we have to grow food in California and other parts of our country. The point is, you don't want to shrink your brain, and you don't have to. We've got so much science available today. We can offer all these protective foods and the right fatty acids and the right diet style, so we have the ability to essentially wipe out these diseases that are so prevalent, and nobody's talking about this. So it's all, if you're reading Scientific American, medical journals, going to medical school and coursework, nobody's talking about this exciting and very full amount of protection against almost these chronic diseases that afflict our society, and how at least people should have the opportunity to choose this and be told about it.
In your book, you say at one point that your mantra is to eat a salad every day. Now, I know, and I'm sure our listeners know, that you're not talking about iceberg lettuce and an industrial tomato with ranch dressing. But so, Joel, what are some of the foods that you would put or you do put into your salads? And for that matter, what kinds of dressings do you use?
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that, my daughter was telling me that today. She was saying to me, here's this beautiful salad. What do you have to say about it? And I say, remind people to put a little arugula or watercress on their salad, because it's eating a little bit of raw cruciferous that really has such the powerful effects. So, a little bit of red cabbage on your salad, of the lettuce, a little bit of arugula, or a little bit of bok choy, or a little bit of, any of the radishes, or these foods that are in the cruciferous family, are tremendously powerful longevity effects. So I don't want people to forget to put them on their salad. And also, when you have a little bit of the isothiocyanates and the myrosinase enzyme present in those foods, they actually increase the anti-cancer potential of the cooked vegetables you're eating the same meal. Because now the cooked broccoli you ate, you're going to get more benefit from, because you consume some of the raw myrosinase enzyme from those green cruciferous vegetables. And then the next food I want them to use in their salad is to use some onion or scallion, raw, because they have tremendously powerful effects that I've overlooked for many years. It wasn't until I even used to like onion and scallion until I learned about how powerful they were to make people live longer. And then I started eating them more regularly, and now I love them. I put them on everything I eat. I throw some onion or scallion into a cooked kale or cooked broccoli dish, and I'll throw some raw on top of the cooked vegetables too, because I like that little crunchiness with the raw red onion or raw scallion on top. But in any case, don't forget the raw onion or scallion. And then, of course, we're talking about regular things people put on: lettuce, tomatoes, lettuce, shredded carrots, shredded beets, anything they want. But, it's also nice to throw some beans on top of your salad, little chickpeas, or a little bit of lentil, is nice in your salad too. And then the dressing. Of course, the dressing is very important, and we're saying not to use a low-fat or a no-fat dressing, but make a dressing that blends some nuts and seeds into the base, which might be a tomato sauce base with roasted garlic, a little balsamic or fig vinegar, and, of course, maybe some almonds or sunflower seeds blended in makes a great dressing. Or you can make a fruity dressing. One of my favorite fruity dressings is just a peeled orange with some blood orange vinegar and a squeeze of lemon and some cashews and sesame seeds. I'll lightly toast some of the sesame seeds and sprinkle them on top. Maybe I'll put some kiwi in the salad, or strawberries with that orange-based dressing, or little pieces of orange slices with the scallion. And, and for some reason, even making that salad, having leftover where it soaks where the dressing gets soaking and it gets a little mushy, I still love it the next day or the next meal. And so, one of my mantras is a person should be eating a salad every day, at least once a day, as a main dish, because there's a link between more than 200 studies showing that the consumption of raw vegetables shows the most consistent and powerful association with longevity and lower rates of cancers in various populations. So we want people to eat those a large serving of raw vegetables and to include these assortments in your diet on almost every day.
There are people who say you shouldn't mix fruits and vegetables in the same meal, or certainly in the same dish. And I haven't found that to be true for me. I put berries often in my salads and enjoy that. What's your take?
I don't think it's scientifically valid, and certainly there are people with digestive issues that do better when their diets are simplified and they don't mix too many foods together, but that's rare. And usually people with normal digestion don't have a problem with that. And a matter of fact, when you're having fruit with a vegetable meal, it's actually better because you've lowered the glycemic effect of the fruit by the vegetables you've eaten. In other words, the glycemic character of the meal is lower because the sugar is diluted with the vegetables, and the effect of the vegetables and fibers are the effect of slow absorption. So I don't think that's true at all. I think it's actually a benefit to eat a variety of foods at the meal. So we want people to try to reduce recreational eating, eat when hungry, stop eating before they're uncomfortable, and wait till they get hungry again and recognize that that eating is healthy, but also not eating is healthy. And living in the non-feeding state is healthy, helps the body repair and rejuvenate, and helps regenerate stem cells, and helps, have anti-aging effects. So we're saying, eat till you're satisfied, eat a variety of healthy foods, try to get that full spectrum in your diet, and then spend time not eating so you get away from the kitchen and don't put food in your mouth every waking hour.
My experience has been, and I've seen this in other people, and I want to check out if you have also, that when we eat nutrient-dense foods, really high in micronutrients, then we aren't as hungry. We don't have a desire to eat more calories than is good for us. Have you seen that?
Well, I think that's one of the basic principles of my work over the last couple of decades, is the fact that I'm teaching the benefits of a nutritarian diet, but I'm also teaching the methodology at which they reduce their appetite is by the consumption of these high nutrient foods. Because and discussing how when you're nutrient deficient, you develop cravings, and you develop and you don't feel well when you're not digesting food. So a poor quality diet makes you overeat food, keeps you craving and wanting to eat more. And a high nutrient food diet makes you satisfied for many, many hours, because that's the difference between nuts and oil, and between beans and white rice and white rice. The whole difference is these foods keep you satisfied for many, many hours, and you prefer not to eat, so it normalizes your appetite. The amount you're supposed to be eating becomes comfortable for you, and then you maintain a lean body mass and you feel good on that amount of food, and it becomes the way now you prefer to eat. You just naturally eat this way. You're not on some kind of diet. You're not artificially weighing and measuring anything. You're not doing anything that's weird. You're just eating the amount of food that satisfies you and feels best, but that's the right amount for you. So it kind of like all works together when you do everything right.
I want to ask you about one last food, which I know plays a key role in the nutritarian diet. Despite the fact that it is not this food source is not particularly dense in vitamins or in minerals. And I'm talking about mushrooms. And mushrooms have unique compounds that influence human health in very positive ways. They strengthen the immune system. They can be strongly anti-cancer. They're rich in angiogenesis inhibitors. Joel, how often should we be eating mushrooms? And is this one food that we should not eat raw?
Yes. There's a mild carcinogen called agaritine that are present in mushrooms, especially the common mushroom varieties. And it blows off pretty quickly with some amount of cooking. So even though if I'm putting mushrooms on my salad, I'm not usually using raw mushrooms. I'm using mushrooms that have been stewed or sautéed in water or something, or cooked in a soup. And I love mushroom soup and put mushrooms in soups. But that's right. Mushrooms have these aromatase inhibitors in them. And then there are other aromatase inhibitors like tamoxifen, or a drug that women are put on with breast cancer. But the aromatase inhibitors in mushrooms prevent estrogen stimulation of breast and prostate tissue, block the estrogen stimulation of breast and prostate tissue, have dramatic effects to lower risk of breast cancer and prostate cancer. And and a small amount of mushrooms does a huge amount. In other words, if you track the amount of green vegetables you have to eat maximum benefits in scientific studies, you see it says that, well, more is better than a little bit. With mushrooms, even small amounts, very tiny amounts, are shown to have very powerful effects. Even if you eat a little bit of mushrooms, it's better to eat a little bit of mushrooms regularly if you can. And you said the angiogenesis inhibitors is probably more powerful in mushrooms than any other food.
When you mentioned that mushrooms are aromatase inhibitors, I want to point something out, that why that's so important, or one of the reasons it is. Men, particularly as we age, our testosterone can be converted into estrogens in our body. It's aromatized. And when aromatase inhibitors inhibit that transfer of testosterone into estrogen. And when you inhibit that, you retain your masculinity as you get older that you wouldn't otherwise. We see in older men a lot of feminization, large breasts growing and so forth, and penis shrinking, and erectile dysfunction occurring. And when men have an adequate amount of aromatase inhibitors in their diet, such as from mushrooms, I think that is actually the best source. That doesn't tend to happen.
Right, and like we're saying, that the excess estrogen in women promotes breast cancer, and the extra estrogen in men promotes prostate cancer. Estrogen is a bad character. We don't want to, and mushrooms actually have affinity to these tissues and actually prevent stimulation from estrogen and prevent the conversion, which happens in fat cells as well. So all this works together: being lean, exercising, eating right, eating mushrooms, and all these other foods we're talking about. How one thing builds on the other. So this program encompasses. It looks in a broad aspect on every factor that affects human lifespan, increasing, slowing aging, lowering risk of cancer, putting them all together in one comprehensive program, and we're giving people a good, obviously, picture of how the nutritarian diet's been designed to include all these various factors to maximize human health.
Joel, we live in a world where most physicians know very little about the power of nutrition to prevent and to treat disease. Speaking with you is always a breath of fresh air for me. And I'm struck by the amount of suffering that would be prevented if the world took heed of what you're saying. I think it's just a staggering amount. I'm glad that millions of people already are listening to your guidance and taking heed of your wisdom. I hope that our listening audience will increase the swelling numbers who are doing so. And on behalf of Ocean and myself, and really everyone involved in the food revolution, I want to thank you, Joel, for your extraordinary work and, of course, for being with us again today.
Thanks so much. And thank you, thank Ocean, and I always appreciate working with you and working together with you. It's been a real thrill.
We've been talking here with Dr. Joel Fuhrman, author of multiple bestsellers, including Eat to Live and his latest Fast Food Genocide, and president of the Nutritional Research Foundation. Joel, your brilliant work and your penetrating insights are a source of hope and health and happiness for millions of people. We want to thank you for your critical research, for your visionary leadership, and for your partnership in the food revolution.
Thank you, Ocean, so much.
Well, thank you so much to Dr. Joel Fuhrman and to my dad and colleague John Robbins for that truly inspiring and empowering conversation. To express your opinions on what you've been hearing and to find out what other people are saying, please post and engage in the comments section on our broadcast page. Make sure to refresh the comments using the Get the Latest Comments button on the right side of the page so you can see the most recent comments that have been submitted. And you can post and share, what have you gotten out of today's broadcast? What are you learning? What are you hoping to get out of this summit? How is this landing in your life? Where are you in your food revolutionary journey? Let's make this a community event so we can feel the wave of history changing as it moves through our lives and as it moves through this world. We heard from Nancy Rosa, who said, I love Dr. Fuhrman. Reading his books and eating as a nutritarian since 2014, I left my wheelchair, walker, and cane behind. My son's mild seizures and ADHD are now a thing of the past as well, and my Lyme disease is totally under control. Thank you, Dr. Fuhrman. God bless you. Well, thank you so much for this, Nancy. We are so grateful that you've been able to reap the benefits of what you have put into action. And thank you for applying what you learned from Dr. Fuhrman. We are all learning here today on this Food Revolution Summit journey. and we're all hopefully applying what we're learning because the benefits are profound. We heard from River Robbins, who said, I've been listening intently since midway through Kris, Carr, and loving it, and Dr. Joel Fuhrman. River Robbins is my son, and I just want to take a moment of parental pride here to say how touched I am that both of my sons, River and Bodhi, are participating in this summit and in the food revolution. I'm so grateful and so inspired by all of our generations joining in this movement together. We heard from Rachel Garcia, who said, the Food Revolution Summit is one of the most insightful, informative, and illuminating experiences. So much admiration, respect, and support for these amazing people. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and grace. Well, thank you, Rachel. We're so glad to have you with us. And we had a question from Tammy Galindo, who asked, what about soaking chia seeds? Does that release the nutrients like grinding? Well, Tammy, the biggest issue with chia seeds is that if they go into your body whole, then there's a pretty good chance they're going to come out the other end whole, and you won't get the benefits. Soaking chia seeds makes them a lot softer, which can make them easier to chew. It might also increase bioavailability and digestibility. But there's no substitute for grinding them, blending them, or chewing them well. When we do, that's how we reap the benefits. So soaking can make them softer and make them easier to chew, but at the end of the day, they've got to get pulverized somehow if they're going to get absorbed. We heard from Connie Finelli, who said, I've always struggled with depression since I was young. I've been to many counselors, but they don't teach nutrition. I grew up on canned spaghetti and highly acidic foods. I started watching the Food Revolution Summits a couple years back and changing my foods to more whole, plant-based foods. Reading my house of processed foods, I don't struggle with depression any longer. Food makes a difference. Connie, thank you for sharing your journey. So many people today are struggling with depression, with mental instability, with challenges in the ways that our brains function. And I just want to say thank you for having the courage to listen and learn and apply what you were learning. We're going to be looking more at brain health tomorrow, and it's powerful. What we eat truly impacts our neurology in ways that most neurologists and doctors and psychiatrists are not aware of, but the impact is tremendous, and I'm so glad that you're reaping these benefits. We send you much love and blessings for your health every step of the way. We heard from Antoinette Correa, who said, Ocean, I know that it's best to eat organic, but what if you can't get everything organic? Well, Antoinette, fresh and local and organic is often best. But what I want to suggest to you and to everyone else participating is let's not make the perfect into the enemy of the good. The studies that have been done that we see again and again pointing to the powerful healing benefits of fruits and vegetables are for the most part based on people who are eating conventionally grown fruits and vegetables, and many of them might be frozen. So it stands to reason that you might get even more benefit by going organic or growing it yourself, but I believe you're almost certainly better off eating fresh vegetables, even if they were sprayed with insecticides, than not eating them. So each of us has to do the best we can with what we've got and with what we can afford and with what's available to us. But I think the data is very clear that on the whole, more fruits and vegetables are going to be beneficial for your health in the vast majority of cases. I think it's also pretty clear that so-called conventional foods are sprayed with pesticides that are often recognized to be neurotoxins that could be carcinogenic. So if you can get away from that, it's probably a good thing for your health and for your planet. But again, do the best you can with what you got. We heard from Melody Cavines, who said, because my husband changed his diet, he no longer has type 2 diabetes, he lowered his cholesterol, and his blood pressure is normal, off all medication at age 72, and down by 69 pounds from a whole food plant-based diet. Melody, congratulations to you and to your husband. I'm so happy for you, and I'm so happy you're sharing your story so we can all be inspired by it. We heard from Joyce Roberts, who said, I had a wake-up call, cancer diagnosis, 2 years ago. On the way home from the hospital, after my second surgery, I decided not to do this anymore, but I didn't know how to fight cancer. The word that came to me was nutrition. After 3 days of research, I became vegan, and my daughter and granddaughter did it to support me. I lost 25 pounds in 10 months. My daughter lost 20 granddaughter lost 35. We all have more energy. Study around food has brought us closer together. And my cancer markers go down every 3 months I have them checked. Thank you for this summit. It's great reinforcement. Well, Joyce, I am so happy to hear about your healing journey and your whole family's healing journey. And we want to help you. We want to help your whole family. So you're going to be this segment's Empowerment Package recipient. We are gifting you with a Food Revolution Summit Empowerment Package. Now you can own all of the MP3s and transcripts for life, plus more than $2,800 worth of bonuses to really support you in nailing this one step of the way so you can fight cancer and optimize health in every cell. So our team will follow up with you. Congratulations. And congratulations also to all of our latest Empowerment Package owners, including Julie from New York, Linda from Ohio, Raymond from Alberta, Canada, Tess from Washington, Ramona from Illinois, Michael from United Kingdom, Sherry from Montana, Shamundi from Georgia, Tammy from Texas, and Cameron from Queensland, Australia. We have participants from 180 countries in this summit, learning, getting informed, and putting it into action. Congratulations to all of you. We heard from Erin Byrnes, who said, my biggest difficulty is getting my kids to eat more vegetables. I offer as much and as many as I can, but most are rejected. In fact, my stepson absolutely refuses to eat or even touch fruits and vegetables except bananas. I'm not sure what I can do to encourage them to eat the good stuff. Erin, thanks for sharing this challenge, and it's one that's echoed by a lot of people, whether it's kids or grandkids or nieces or nephews. Most of us have kids in our lives, and most of us want them to eat well. I remember when our twin teenage sons went to summer camp for the first time. I was so excited for them, and I was honestly a bit nervous. They'd been homeschooled, and they'd grown up in a pretty protected environment. They were going to be exposed to some new food context, that's for sure. When they got home, I asked our son Bodie how camp had been, and he told me he had a great time. He said it was fun, but the biggest trouble was the food. He said they didn't serve enough vegetables. He said he missed them and asked if we could have a big pot of vegetables for dinner. And I was so proud of him right then because he'd had a great time at camp, despite the food not being what he was used to, and of course because he was taking action and wanting to eat vegetables. Now, this didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of patience and creativity, and it still does. I think helping all kids to eat well in a toxic food culture is a never-ending effort. Now, let me share a few tips that we find helpful for a lot of people. One is don't assume that someone won't enjoy vegetables. Deliver them with pride, not with pushiness or timidity. Share them with confidence, and also bring enthusiasm. If your family doesn't like steamed broccoli, try roasting it. If you get resistance to yellow bell peppers, try red ones with cilantro jalapeno hummus. Try serving foods creatively. Try chopping them playfully. You can add vegetables to everything, like putting shredded zucchini or carrots into cakes. You can add vegetables that are shredded up into pasta sauce or casseroles. You can marinate them. You can make them a centerpiece, actually make them the main dish and put seasonings on them. Put vegetables into wraps. We find that kids who grow foods are a lot more likely to want to eat them. There are a lot of studies to back this up. So a family garden can be great. So can school gardens. We get into all this a lot more, really helping you apply healthy eating in your life and in your family's life in an online course we created called Plant Powered and Thriving. The next launch of this will be in the first week of June. My dad and I teach it. The goal is to help you implement everything you're learning in this summit. And there is a link to it on the broadcast page with a summit special price if you want to sign up as an early bird. So you can learn more about that if you want to, and it's an incredible opportunity. And speaking of plant-powered and thriving, we teach it with Karen Hartglass, the founder of Responsible Eating and Living, or REAL. She's a chef extraordinaire and an expert in making healthy eating doable and delicious. And on each day of this summit, Karen is introducing a recipe of the day. Today's recipe of the day is red cabbage with lemon and mint. You'll find it linked on the broadcast page. If you don't see it there, then after we're done with the broadcast, go ahead and refresh the page, and you will. You'll also find it on the replays page. And on each day of this summit, you'll find another delicious, nutritious, plant-powered, gluten-free recipe that you can enjoy. So I'm going to hand it over to Karen now.
Hi, everybody. I'm delighted to be a part of the 7th Annual Food Revolution Summit. What a wonderful first day it has been. I love listening to my favorite medical doctors talk about food. Today, Dr. Greger and Dr. Fuhrman both recommended eating red cabbage. Dr. Greger told us red cabbage comes with the same kind of eyesight and brain-protecting antioxidants that berries have, but price-wise, red cabbage is a deal. Dr. Fuhrman wants us eating salad every day with raw cruciferous vegetables and raw onion for longevity and lower rates of cancers. Today's recipe is just what these doctors ordered. Red cabbage with lemon and mint. It can be served on the side like a slaw or eaten as a main dish. I got the idea for this recipe when I was eating a vegan version of Chinese chicken salad recently made with Napa cabbage. The dressing was lemony, and I'm sure it was sweetened with sugar. I wanted to make a variation with red cabbage using only whole plant foods and no refined sugar. In today's recipe, the red cabbage is tossed with raw red onion and crunchy chopped almonds. The dressing is made with fresh lemon juice, fresh mint, and several dates. It's so good. Red cabbage is a hardy leaf that won't wilt when dressed. That means it's a perfect dish to bring to a picnic or a potluck. One other thing I love about this salad is that it insists on being chewed. So often we gulp our foods down without chewing them sufficiently first. Good digestion starts in the mouth. You can't gulp this salad down. It must be chewed, and you'll enjoy every bite. I'll be back tomorrow with another Food Revolution Summit recipe.
Well, thank you so much to Karen for helping us all to discover how delicious and even irresistible healthy eating can be. You know, at the end of the day, cancer doesn't really care how much you know, but it does care what you eat. It's all about what we apply and what we do. And in this summit, I hope we're going to help you to apply healthy eating in a way that truly sticks and makes the profound difference it can in your life. And if I might now, I want to take a moment to honor one person who I'm so grateful to be sharing this journey with, and that's my dad. You know, he plays the role of interviewer, so it's not always obvious to everybody that his books and his work have inspired millions of people. But if you listen to the questions he asks, I'm sure you can tell how insightful and brilliant and wise this man is. And I also want to share that he walks his talk, and he also works it and runs it. And I want to share something that he doesn't often talk about publicly. He's been eating a whole foods, plant-centered diet for longer than I've been alive. He's 70 years old. And he and I work out together at a local gym, where he's one of the strongest guys around. We do a variation on a chin-up, in which we not only pull our body up over a bar, but also bend our knees and pull them to our chest at the same time. We compete on this pretty ferociously. We've been known to do 4 consecutive sets. And recently I felt pretty proud of myself when I set an all-time record by doing 48 over the course of 4 sets. My dad followed that up with 50. Now, I'm no weakling, but at almost 70, my dad is still beating me. And as competitive as I can be, and as much as I like to win, the truth is I'm proud of him. I'm so proud of his dedication to a healthy diet and lifestyle, and I'm so grateful to be working with him to share this message with you and with so many other people. So right now, we are approaching the end of day 1 of the Food Revolution Summit. To express your opinions on this summit so far and to find out what other people are saying, post and engage in the comments section on our broadcast page. Make sure to refresh the page so you can see the latest comments. You can also go join in the conversation on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Food Revolution Network. Come back and join us tomorrow at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 Eastern, 3 p.m. GMT for Brain Health. Keep your mind healthy at every stage of life. We're going to have some powerful presentations from Dr. Dale Bredesen on the end of Alzheimer's, Drs. Dean and Ayesha Sherzai on preventing dementia with nutrition, and Dr. Daniel Amen on foods your brain will love. Tomorrow's presentations are going to rock your world, so please come back and join us. And in the meanwhile, you can post your comments and share in the conversation. You can catch and share the replays at foodrevolutionsummit.org/replays. You can check out the empowerment package so you can own it all for life and have all the transcripts. And I also want to invite you to enjoy some delicious, fabulous, healthy food. We wish you a wonderful, thriving day. This is Ocean Robbins, signing off from day 1 in the Food Revolution Summit. No matter where you come from or what you've been through, the simple truth is you are meant to thrive. You deserve boundless energy, a clear mind, and a lean and healthy body. You deserve to feel confident and clear about what you eat and why. The Food Revolution Summit is packed with insights, and trying to catch and absorb all of them can be hard. That's why we created the Empowerment Package. With your Empowerment Package, you can own the entire summit, plus all the transcripts and loads of bonus materials for life. Absorb this life-changing material at a pace that's comfortable and easy for you. Join this movement. Support this mission. Buy your Empowerment Package today.